support system. So happy International Women's Day, everybody. We're back here 11:30 a.m. LSN College Center.
We are 30 minutes away from Ohio State taking on Hofstra down in Long Island. It's cold, the snow is sitting there, but they are all getting ready and warming up and getting ready to go. That game will be at 12 p.m. Eastern right here on Lax Sports Network. But first, in the meantime, we say good morning and welcome to the LSN Broadcast Center. Happy Saturday and welcome to this edition of College Central. I'm Megan Triplett, he's Tom Eschen. And sit back and get comfy because today is going to be a good day in the college lacrosse world.
Easing you into your Saturday. Nice, you got some breakfast, got some eggs, maybe a bagel, and just enjoying some lacrosse now for the rest of the day. Before we talk about today, let's talk about what went down last night in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Crown Classic. Fourth-ranked Penn State took on number 2 Cornell. What was sort of a rainy, yucky game, but it was an exciting game at that. Let's head out there right now. Grant Ament, you're going to see this a lot in this highlight, to Nick Spillane just 27 seconds in, and Penn State is on the board 1-0. A little bit later, 3-0 Penn State. Ament from X, where he works so well. The no-look slip pass there to Mac O'Keefe for another goal. 4-0 Penn State, just like that. Cornell just trying to get on the board at this point. Still down 4-0. Jeff Teat with the ball, sort of trying to find some work, looking for a pick, sort of gets it. He falls down, gets up, then loses the ball, gets the ground ball, finds one of his teammates, Clark Pedersen, who scores. What a play there. Way to stick to it. Jeff Teat, 4-1 Penn State. That's why Teat's so good. He's tough. A little bit later, it's 6-2 Penn State. Gerard Arceri, great day in the face-off X. This time to Ament. Oh, the BTB to Dylan Folds. That's pretty off the face-off. 7-2 Penn State, a 5-goal lead. In this second, Penn State's up 7. More Ament. How about another no-look? There to Nick Spillane right in front for the goal. Sort of slipped it through all those defenders. Penn State led 11-5 at the half. So Cornell looking to come back. This time, it's Teat. Doesn't lose it this time at all. Sweeps around the top to the lefty rip. 12-8. It's a 4-goal game, 6-goal game. Nice look down here to John Piatelli, who scores right coming around from X. 14-10 Penn State after 3 with the flag as well. We go to the fourth, still 4-goal game. Kevin Hill, not Grant Ament, but that's okay. Doing his best Grant Ament impression, finding Mac O'Keefe, who had 6 goals on the day. Penn State with a 5-goal lead. Ensuing face-off. Penn State trying to put the cherry on top. Can they? Arceri does get the ground ball eventually right here. Comes back to get it after the ball bounces. You can see it was a little muddy out there. How about back to Grant Ament and another. Ament to Fold. BTB finish. Ament's 9th assist of the day. Penn State beats number 2 Cornell 19-13. So you saw Grant Ament several times in that highlight. He didn't have a goal, but he had 9 assists. We've talked an awful lot about Pat Spencer this year, but Ament has actually scored more points than Spencer in the same amount of games. Spencer with the advantage in goals, but Ament with 38 assists and averaging almost a full point per game more. Keep in mind, you see an asterisk there. Lyle Thompson in 2014, when he set the record of 128 points, 6.65 points per game. So Ament's ahead of the pace. We'll see if he can keep that up.
All right, how about the second game at the Crown Classic? It featured the number 1 team in the country this week. Towson and Jacksonville played in the pouring rain for most of the game. And Towson poured it on Jacksonville early, jumping out to a 6-1 lead. Brody McLean led the way for the Tigers with 5 goals. Grant Malou scored 4. Alex Woodall had another fantastic day at the face-off X, winning 23 of 32 and scooping up 16 ground balls. Brendan Sunday chipped in with a pair of goals and a pair of assists, and the final was 15-13 as Jacksonville fought back hard in the second half, but Towson hung on for the win to improve to 5-0 on the season. Next up for the Tigers is number 2 Cornell, also in Charlotte on Sunday afternoon.
That'll be a good one for sure. Last night, as a part of the Philly 4 Classic, which you saw right here on Lax Sports Network, Penn took on 11th-ranked Villanova. The Quakers scored the first 6 goals at Villanova Stadium, held a 7-1 lead early in the second quarter, and never looked back at taking a 13-11 decision from the Wildcats. Penn was led by freshman Sam Handley, who had 4 goals, 3 of them unassisted. He also had 3 assists. Adam Goldner, Simon Matthias, and Tyler Dunn each scored twice. Last night's win marked the Quakers' first win of the season, previously 0-3. In the other game, to lead off the day on LSN, Drexel took down St. Joseph's as well. More of those games coming on Sunday.
So Friday, there was a lot of action going on.
It was a busy day.
It was. Well, now we got today on Saturday. So let's switch over to the men's games today because the action continues with a lot of top matchups.
Yeah, let's take a look now at some of the men's games today. You got Maryland and Albany. Sneaky good game. Albany not ranked, but you know they're always dangerous. Johns Hopkins and Syracuse renewing their rivalry. More on that in a moment. Denver and Notre Dame out west as a part of the Pacific Coast Shootout. In California, 10 p.m. Eastern time for that start. So Denver started at what time? Like 8 a.m. Mountain time last week. Right. Now starting at 10 p.m. this week. Crazy. And High Point taking on UMBC. That should be another interesting one for sure. We mentioned Johns Hopkins and Syracuse. Johns Hopkins hitting the road for their third straight game to take on the Orange. The Blue Jays are coming off a 14-12 win at Princeton that evened Hopkins' record at 2-2 on the year. While for Syracuse, the Orange is playing in its fifth straight home game and is coming off an OT loss to Virginia. Syracuse sits at 2-2 on the season. That OT loss in the Carrier Dome, backbreaking for all those fans at SU. So let's take a look now at the historic rivalry between these two. Their 57th all-time meeting dating back to 1921. That was almost 100 years ago now, which is crazy. They're combined all-time 889 wins, and they're combined for 21 between the two schools NCAA championships. Here's Syracuse on the rivalry.
It's just one of those rivalries that you kind of have on your calendar every year. I mean, you know, we're coming off of a tough loss. You know, their record's probably pretty similar. But, I mean, we've been scouting them today. We're going to scout them, watch film the rest of the week, and kind of just prep for them. That's where our mind's at. You know, we're not really a team that looks back or looks forward. We kind of stay within the week that's in front of us, so it'll be a big one.
Definitely get the juices flowing for us, too. Big game, huge rivalry game. Coming off a loss against Virginia, it's even bigger for us this weekend. Hopkins is playing really well right now, so the energy's definitely up this week at practice, and looking for a big game on Saturday.
It sure does. You know, the Syracuse-Hopkins rivalry goes way back. I think our first national championship in the new NCAA era is in 1983, and both teams have been in the championship a number of times, so it's always a great game to watch and a great game to play in.
All right, the best thing about Syracuse is that they've only played at home. This is Game 5 of Syracuse, 7 straight home games in the Carrier Dome to start the season. Now, it's kind of been up and down. So as you guys know, they started out the season losing to Lafayette. That was 12-9.
Colgate. They lost to Colgate.
So to Colgate, yes, thank you. And then, of course, on February 16th, they defeated Albany 13-5, and then they came back and defeated Army 10-8. And then, of course, last week, that was a loss to Virginia in overtime, 15-14. So now they're sitting at even 2-2 on the year. They're 2-2 at home. And the great thing about it is that they still have 2 more home games after today.
That one against Duke, I think Rutgers, too. Rutgers is a good team as well, so they're probably glad that they're home for those games.
They don't have to travel. You got your home. You got your fans there. They've kind of had it up and down, but hopefully they can figure it out at home.
That strikes me as the second half of the schedule is going to get a little tougher. You hit the ACC a little bit more. It's going to be interesting.
They might regret having all those home games later on.
At least they started well.
All right, let's go to Albany, New York. The Terps are gearing up for their 3rd straight away game. 7th-ranked Maryland hopes to bounce back after losing its first game of the season last week in overtime to Notre Dame. The game will be a rematch of last season's meeting in College Park when UAlbany outscored Maryland 5-0 in the 4th quarter to rally for an 11-10 victory.
And for UAlbany, after all the drama that went down earlier this week, the Ogunanticoke and the Great Danes gearing up to face a top 10 opponent for the second time in a week. UAlbany coming off this past Tuesday's 14-8 setback against UMass in the home opener, where Deoka led the Great Danes with 4 points. 8th-ranked Denver, 10th-ranked Notre Dame. Good game, competing in the Pacific Coast Shootout on Saturday. Denver's won 7 of the last 8 over North Carolina. These two programs meeting in 3 of the last 4 NCAA tournaments. Denver coming off a 12-10 win over North Carolina, while Notre Dame won that overtime thriller over Maryland on Sunday afternoon, which we just talked about. This game, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific in Costa Mesa, California.
Gotta make sure you get all those times in.
I know. There's a lot of different.
People could get confused.
Right. I think Notre Dame in the Central? So we probably should have said that too. That they might be.
Definitely.
It's right
I think they're in the Central time.
Close. I don't know if it's close enough to Chicago. It's close. All right. Let's talk about tomorrow. We have to today actually. We have to talk about the women this afternoon right now because 2 top 5 matchups happening at the same time in less than a half hour.
Yeah. Number 2 Maryland hosting 4th-ranked Syracuse. Then there's 3rd-ranked North Carolina hosting 5th-ranked Virginia.
We'll start with Syracuse and Maryland in College Park. The Terps are 22-1 all-time against the Orange, winning 11 in a row over Syracuse. Last year, the Terps winning 18-11 in the Carrier Dome. 6 Terps this season were selected to the Tewaaraton watch list just a couple weeks ago. They're led by Jen Giles, who has 20 points. For the Orange, their only loss to top-ranked Boston College. SU led by Emily Harishuk with 24 points. This game coming up at noon over on BTN+. So let's look at the stats from this season. Maryland with a little less than one more than a goal a game, with a little more than actually than one more goal a game, excuse me. Syracuse allowing a couple more goals a game themselves. The Terps holding the advantage in draw control despite the fact they played 2 fewer games. The Terps also the advantage in goal at 56% to Syracuse's 42.
All right, also at noon, 5th-ranked Virginia heading to Chapel Hill to take on 3rd-ranked North Carolina. The Tar Heels dominated then number 5 Northwestern last week, 21-11. The Cavs won a midweek matchup 20-9 over George Mason. Now UNC has won 14 of the last 15 in this series, including last year in Charlottesville, 13-9. It's a homecoming for UNC head coach Jen Levy, who is a Virginia alum and was a teammate of now UVA coach Julie Myers. That game is on ACC Network Extra with a lot of storylines in it.
Sure is.
All right, so here's how these 2 teams match up when you look at the numbers by the stats. So far, so North Carolina, for goals per game, they have that advantage over 17 to Virginia's 15.14. But then the goals against average, Virginia has 9 as compared to North Carolina's a little bit over 8%. And then, of course, the draw control. So Virginia leads that one 94-92. And then for goalie, for the save percentage, Virginia wins at 50% to North Carolina's around 47%.
Pretty close.
All right, top-ranked Boston College takes on 9th-ranked Northwestern as well in Evanston. The last time these two played was in 2013. That was a 17-10 Wildcats win. Northwestern coming off of that 10-goal loss to North Carolina. And BC has been rolling over everybody. They rolled over 12th-ranked Navy on Wednesday, 18-5. This game is tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Big Ten Plus.
Should be interesting in Evanston. A little home field advantage for Northwestern. Defending Tewaaraton winner Sam Apuzzo will be playing in that game and showing us why she won it this year, because she has 53 points in 7 games, averaging 7.57 points per game. Last year, Kylie Oldmiller averaged 7.45 points per game and set the single-season points record of 164. Apuzzo on pace to break the record if the Eagles make a run to championship weekend and maybe even sooner. Let's show you those numbers so you can see it for yourself. 53 points in 6 games, 7.57 points, like I said. Kylie Oldmiller 2 years ago set the record with 7.45 points per game, so 164 points resulted from that. The competition will get tougher, though, for Apuzzo as we head into late March and April. See if she can keep that up. Coming up, we take a look to our game right here, coming up at noon. What to expect from Ohio State and Hofstra in Hempstead. They're warming up right now.
And tonight, the ML draft is coming up. Loyola's Pat Spencer go number 1. We ask the experts.
And we get a look at the IL mock draft along with a cool MLL paint job on a stock car. It's all coming together next on LSN College Central.
And of course, as always, every Delaware home game is on LSN. Today at noon, watch the Delaware women host Coastal Carolina, the Blue Hens at 2 and 3, and then Coastal Carolina sit at 2 and 2 heading into Delaware Stadium. You can see it on LSN2 for free at noon.
We've got a Delaware doubleheader. The Blue Hens men's team hosting Binghamton at 3 p.m. on LSN2. Delaware coming off a 10-9 win over Mercer on Wednesday to get to 5-1. Binghamton at 0-3 after a loss to Hobart last weekend. See that game, 3 p.m. Eastern, all for free here at LSN. We'll be right back.
Woodall wins the faceoff, and that will do it. For the first time since 1992 and the third time ever, the Tigers have knocked off the #1 team in the country. It was a big stage here on a Wednesday night, Davey, and at times it wasn't real pretty, but it kind of fits what Towson is all about. They come away with the 12-10 win.
I'm Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101. Today we'll be talking about shuffle passing. As we're doing this drill, we want to make sure that our stick stays above our shoulder and we're passing, we're following through, right? We're not making any cradle motions when we catch it. We're controlling the ball before we release it, and we're not trying to race up the floor as we shuffle. It's more about control than it is about speed.
You're watching Lag Sports Network.
Right around 40 degrees and sunny in Hempstead today, so the sun probably feels pretty good. Ohio State and Hofstra getting warmer as we get closer to that noon Eastern face-off right here on LSN.
All right, the ML draft is tonight. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern right here on LSN. We'll finally get to see where all these seniors we've been talking about all season will end up in the professional ranks.
Yeah, Ohio on the clock. Florida at number 2. Boston with both 3 and 4. That 4th from Atlanta. The defending champs in Denver have 2 first-round picks. See Chesapeake at 7, Dallas at 8 as well.
And the projected #1 pick is none other than Loyola's Pat Spencer. The senior attackman with 17 goals, 20 assists for 37 points in just 5 games this season. But whoever takes him might have to wait. There's a chance he takes an extra year and plays basketball at a Division I university.
It's a good option to have.
I know, it's a great option to have. He's so talented. You know, earlier this week we spoke to Bayhawks head coach and GM head coach Dave Cottle, and here's what he had to say about the prospect.
Well, quite honestly, the best player in the draft is one that's probably going to play college basketball the next year. And so that's when you have a #1 player like Pat Spencer, he's definitely playing college basketball, so you won't have him for a year. Do you take a guy that you don't know is going to play? Well, you know he's not going to play the first year, then you have to figure out the second year.
They think Ohio does take the chance on Spencer #1. Then Florida taking the midi out of Michigan, Brett Noseworthy at number 2. Followed by UMass LSM Isaac Paparo staying in the state with the Cannons, who backed it up with Jack Ty at 4. Zach Goodrich, the best D-midi out there, should go in the 1st. Isle has him in Charlotte. Austin French staying in Denver, which they've done in the past, where they also have short stick D-midi Drew Shantz going a little bit later in that 1st. The Bayhawks getting Ryan Conrad in Dallas, taking Craig Chick. Here's who our Evan Washburn says are his top prospects.
Well, the ML draft always provides a lot of uncertainty and question for GMs and coaches and decision makers about just exactly what they're getting in a prospect and their commitment to playing in the professional game, especially when you hold a draft at this point in the college season. And then you throw in the fact that we know we have the PLL this year. But when I look at my top 3 prospects, at least for this exercise, I'm not putting that into the category or as a factor at all. This is strictly based off ability and how I see them translating to the professional game wherever they choose to play or if they choose to play lacrosse. And let's start at number 3. Brad Smith's a player that we've seen over the course of the last 3 seasons and now as a senior at Duke that has everything you'd want in a professional midfielder and really offensive player because he has the versatility to play tack as well. And I think that's important when you look at professional MLL caliber offensive players. They have to have that versatility to play behind the cage, invert, play attack, because really it ends up being your top 6 players. I love his size and his speed and his lacrosse IQ, and obviously breaking out for 60 plus points last season paid dividends as a first team All-American and he seems to be playing at that pace here as a senior as well. Coming in at number 2 is, beyond Pat Spencer, my favorite player in the college game right now, and that's Zach Goodrich out of Towson. A defensive midfielder, but a player that just impacts the game in so many different ways. And he's honestly probably the best defender in the college game right now, and I think his value at the professional level will be felt in a lot of ways because of how you can utilize him off the wings and face-offs. You can put him on the opposing team's top attackman, maybe their top midfielder. It's like having an extra pole out on the field. And he does have the ability to make plays in transition as an offensive player as well. He is not that one-dimensional, and I think he can offer a lot when you think about players like a Matt Abbott, who developed into an offensive player coming in as a defensive midfielder out of Syracuse all those years ago. At number 1, this is obvious, Pat Spencer. He's the best player of arguably the last 20 years. He's the best player I've seen in person. And look, I understand there is so much question about his commitment to playing professional lacrosse, whether it be next year because he'd like to play basketball, whether he'd play in the PLL, whatever it might be. I think you take him one, and then just at least you're part of the decision-making process for Pat Spencer. I was told by GMs that he could have played in the MLL as a sophomore in college, and he's only gotten better. His physical abilities are off the charts as a senior. He seems to have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger, and that's matched with his skill. So just to recap, it'd be Spencer at 1 for me, Zach Goodrich at 2, and then Brad Smith coming in at number 3. Should be an intriguing draft down in North Carolina in a couple days, and excited to see how things shake out.
Let's talk about some other news coming out from the MLL. So as we guys know, yesterday the new logo was released, but no one said it would be on a car.
I like this look. I think it looks kind of, the color scheme is nice for a stock car.
Yes, it definitely is.
It looks, and obviously it's all part of the NASCAR Hall of Fame where the draft's being held, and the MLL got their own paint job. Like this look right here with the, right there with the silhouette, I think, on the car. I like that. I like that look. I think it looks good.
Pretty
That's
cool.
Good stuff. Yeah, pretty neat. All right, what's coming up next? Yeah, no, the draft.
Yeah, of course.
The draft is coming up. You can see the draft right here on LAC Sports Network, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live from Charlotte. Travis and Quint Kesnick have your coverage from there, and the pre-draft show starting at 7 p.m. right here on LSN. Then Lacrosse Now, with full recaps from the draft and the day in lacrosse afterwards. It's all free right here, LSN.
But the day will begin in Hempstead. How Trey LeClair's Buckeyes have been looking heading into today's Hofstra matchup.
Same for the Pride, and while they'll be sporting a little bit of a different of a look for a good cause. Next on LSN College Central.
Designing extra man offense plays, it's best to incorporate some element of surprise to try to confuse the defense. This 1-4-1 to a 3-3 uses a ball side slip screen to try to get an easy look in the crease. It's best suited for intermediate to advanced skill levels. The trigger on this play is the player at X. I'm going to have him go to the left, but feel free to mirror this and you can go to the right as well. He's going to carry to the left side. As this action occurs, we're going to get a little slip screen right here between these two players. The other crease man is going to roll off and be an outlet, and these two players are going to exchange on the backside. In an ideal world, the defense overreacts to this player popping out, leaving an open dunk right on the crease. If neither of these players is open, we want to move the ball to the backside, and this player should turn the corner and shoot and score if no one's covering him. Otherwise, he should have an easy look right in front or a skip to the top middle guy.
here's a look at the tail of the tape between Ohio State and Hofstra coming up in moments here on LSN. You can see Ohio State 5-0, Hofstra 2-3, 69-43 in goals. Quite the advantage, especially in the face-off as well. Here is the guys who are going to call the game, Matt Shortis and Steve Panarelli with a preview.
The number 9 team in the country, the Ohio State Buckeyes, trying to stay undefeated on the season and looking to improve to a perfect 6-0 as they hit the road for the second consecutive week. They'll take on the 2-3 Hofstra Pride. Matt Shortis and Steve Panarelli with you from Hempstead, Long Island. And Steve, this Ohio State team, they've gotten off to a great start, 5-0, and they've done it really on both sides of the ball, with a stout defense and a very dynamic offense early in this young season.
Extremely consistent in all aspects of the game. The one thing that Coach Myers talked about was wanting to clean up the turnovers, but otherwise clearing, riding, offense, defense, goalie play, and even at the face-off X, they've been great so far this year.
Hofstra, on the other hand, they're 2-3. Really, you can make the case that they're a couple of moments away from possibly being 4-1. That being said, they're a young team. They lost 18 players from last year's roster, only 5 seniors on the roster this year. So they're going through things that young teams go through. You don't always know the type of performance you're going to get. Last week against Georgetown, not great. Head coach Seth Tierney hoping for a bounce-back performance today against Ohio State.
Well, you said it. They're young and they're new. Even some of the guys that have been around haven't really had much game time. So for a lot of them, really the first time they've been on the field and playing and contributing. So, you know, looking for that first signature win, I think they beat a young Utah team and, you know, haven't really had that signature win. So it's a good opportunity for them here today.
So Hofstra and Ohio State coming up at the top of the hour from Hempstead, Long Island.
All right, thanks, guys. Now, these two teams, at least for the last 4 meetings, have been all very, very competitive. The games have been decided by 2 or 3 goals tops. And last year, the Buckeyes beat the Pride 9-7.
That proves your point. Close game. So the history is there. Let's see what these teams have been up to leading up to today, sort of as the guys mentioned here. After winning their first 2 games over Lehigh and Utah, Pride have lost 3 in a row now to Nova, Stony Brook, and Georgetown. Last weekend, the Pride falling to the Hoyas 14-6. Excuse me, a game where Hofstra struggled from the start, going down 4-1 in the first and 8-4 in the half. Georgetown just converted on more chances, really, all day long to win by 8.
And preseason All-ACC selection, Ryan Tierney leads the All-CAA selection, Ryan Tierney leads the 2-3 Pride with 16 points comprised of 14 goals and 2 assists this season. He had a hat trick in that Georgetown game. And Tierney now with 2 5-point games this season and at least a hat trick in 3 of the 5 games he's played in.
Well, they look good, look great with these USA-themed helmets and uniforms for Military Appreciation Day. Crisp and clean colors there, I like it. The women will have a similar look when they play Johns Hopkins, following them at 3 p.m. So there's free tickets to all veterans, active military, and military families. So very nice touch there.
And meanwhile, for the Buckeyes, they're coming off of a 13-9 win over Marquette in the Patriot Cup down in Dallas, Texas. The Buckeyes staying at number 9 in the nation despite being undefeated and winning their first 5 games of the season. Now, their strength of schedule so far, not that of some of the other unbeaten and one-loss teams ahead of them, but Trey LeClaire leads the team with 16 goals. Senior Jack Jasinski has 14 goals and 7 assists, and then freshman Jack Myers has really come on in the last few games. 9 goals and 9 assists in 4 games.
They do have one of the highlights of the year, though. Ryan Terefenko with the perfectly executed hidden ball trick against Marquette last weekend. We had to bring it back. Terefenko actually scored a couple goals in the game from his short stick defensive midfielder position. Here's what Coach Nick Myers has to say about his squad at this point.
You know, for us this week has been about getting back to some basics. We had some positive moments, certainly down in Texas with a tough Marquette team. Really felt like in the box defensively, probably our best effort of the year. But we got to build on that, and we came home this week and got right back to it. Offensively, we felt like there were some positive moments as well. But now it's about putting everything together. And this week has been a solid work week. To go on the road to 2 tough places back-to-back weeks is not easy. We're heading out tomorrow and looking forward to just a great opportunity on the road at a very tough Hofstra. A team that right now 2 goals away from being a 4-1 team. And they've been in some tough battles, talented, very well coached, gritty, and we have no doubt we'll get their best stuff on Saturday.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to this game today. Should be pretty fun to watch these two teams go at it. Hofstra looking to get some, a little bit bounce back, and Ohio State looking to say, hey, we deserve to be a little higher in the polls.
Hey, it's a great way to start our Saturday. We got a lot coming up later on tonight, too.
Yeah, we'll be here all day long.
So let's send out to Matt Shortis and Steve Panarelli out in Hempstead.
Lac Sports Network is proud to present the CAA Game of the Week. Today from Sherwood Stadium on the campus of Hofstra University, it's the Ohio State Buckeyes, the 9th-ranked team in the country, taking on the Hofstra Pride. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to James M. Sherwood Stadium in Hempstead, New York. With Steve Panarelli, I'm Matt Shortis, and we're so glad you could join us for this matchup today. As Ohio State coming in at 5-0. Their second consecutive road game, big road trip after going to Dallas last week and beating Marquette. Taking a look there at Nick Myers in his 11th season as the head coach of Ohio State. Led them to the national championship game just 2 seasons ago. And obviously the goal this year to try and get back to the NCAA tournament after an 8-7 run a year ago. Seth Tierney, the head coach of the Hofstra Pride, he's in his 12th season, a much different task for him this year than he's had in years past with a very young team. 18 players graduated from last year, only 5 seniors on the roster this season. Goalie matchup, Josh Kearson will be between the pipes for Ohio State, a redshirt sophomore out of Newton, Massachusetts. Took over midway through the season last year for the Buckeyes, starting the last 7 games of the year. And you see his numbers so far this season, leading a stout defense. His counterpart for Hofstra will be redshirt sophomore Bobby Casey, a local product out of Wantagh, New York. And big shoes, Steve, for him to step into with the graduation of Jack Concannon a year ago.
Yeah, arguably the best goalie in the country last year between the pipes for Hofstra. So like you said, big shoes to fill, but he's done a great job so far. And really the defense and him have been what's even led to any of the success that Hofstra's had this year. They've struggled on the offensive side of the ball.
Hofstra wearing red, white, and blue uniforms today for Military Appreciation Day, and we'll go to the face-off X. Should be a fun matchup throughout today. Justin Inacio, 2-time Big Ten Special of the Week already this season, and Brian Herbert for Hofstra on the right, number 1. So 2 guys who are over 50% on the season. And it's Ohio State winning the first face-off of the day with Ryan Tarafinko, the ball in his stick. Quick ball movement and a save blocked in front before it got to the cage. Ground ball comes all the way out to the near side and scooped up off the turf by Jackson Reed.
And early you see Ohio State right off the face-off, able to get some early offense in transition. They do like to push the ball. They will play fast. And if they can create transition, they will. So Hofstra's got to be prepared for numbers coming in their face.
This is Colby Smith going against the short stick defensive midfielder Mark Ellis. And we talked about the youth and all the new faces and new positions on the Hofstra side of things, Steve. If there's one thing that they do have some stability, minus goaltending from a year ago, it is in that close defense. Here's a look right in front on the crease, and it's put home by Trey LeClaire. Ohio State on top, 1-0, 52 seconds in.
And LeClaire just comes wide open in the middle of that Hofstra defense. Not sure what happened, if they were sliding and they got caught in a rotation, but you see Colby Smith here, attacks right-handed, slide comes, and there's no second slide. So off ball, defensively, that top-tier midi, he's got to be sunk all the way down in the hole, and he's got to be helping to LeClaire and be in a position to be that 2-slide. He wasn't. LeClaire did a nice job of cutting to the ball and was able to finish one-on-one.
LeClaire, the leading finisher for Ohio State this season, 17 goals, trailed only or closely by Jack Jasinski, a senior for Ohio State. An infraction on the faceoff by Inacio, and the Pride will get their first offensive possession of the game. This an area that's been in flux for Hofstra through the early part of the season with some injuries. Dylan McIntosh actually broke his jaw a couple of games ago against Villanova. He's been out for a while. James Philbin shuttling down from the midfield to be at the X and attack today. And again, out of these top 6 guys for Hofstra, right now only 2 of them saw a decent amount of playing time a year ago in Tierney and Giannis. There's Philbin ranging to his right. Nice job defensively by Tarafenko. This is Tierney, Hofstra's leading point man. 14 goals, 2 assists on the season. Tierney drawing the pole at the top of the box. 18 on the shot clock. Tierney, left-handed shot, firing, missing it wide of the cage, as Kirsten had a good look at it.
Using Tierney up above the goal. Guy that played midfield and attack in high school, so he's comfortable up top.
6 on the shot clock, turnover. Here come the Buckeyes. With some pace and speed, it's Borges, the Long Island native. Borges trying to center it, and the ball gets away, scooped up by Eric Wentz. Wentz pushing up ahead. Here's Griff Barnathan, short stick defensive midfielder, and he will feed it off and then wait for the offensive personnel to come on.
Ohio State had a great opportunity. The number 50, Evan Riss, he cut. Instead of just staying high, he would have been a nice outlet, and they would have had a 5-on-4, but because he cut, he actually covered himself and made it very easy for the Hofstra defense, and that's what led to that turnover to come back and give Hofstra the ball again.
You know, one of the things that Nick Myers talked about, they really felt they cleaned up last week against Marquette, was their ability to ride, create turnovers in transition, this time giving it up. Here's Stephen Ardrey, draws a double team, slips to the turf and loses the ball, but a foul against Ohio State will give it back to the Pride. Here's Whit Stopak with the ball in his stick, a freshman, actually one of the few Ohio natives on the Hofstra roster. Giannis coming goal line extended. Giannis towing the crease, looking right on the crease. A low pass for Stopak. He can't handle it, ball to the turf. And Ohio State comes away with it. Ground ball in traffic for Joey Salisbury.
Ohio State ground ball.
Third ground ball of the season for Salisbury. And this is Tarafenko bringing the ball up the field. We saw it all over social media. Tarafenko had the goal last week against Marquette, the hidden ball trick for his 3rd goal of the season. So in settled situations so far, Ohio State 1 for 1. They scored the goal 58 seconds in from Trey LeClaire. 4 minutes gone by and 1-0 Ohio State lead.
Ohio State likes to play that 2-man game off of the wing, so you got to talk and communicate through picks. If you're Hofstra defensively, got to make sure you know your assignment when you're in that 2-man game against them.
Buckley's pass knocked away, recovered though by Trey LeClaire all the way up near midfield. This is Colby Smith, a sophomore out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Up top for LeClaire, rifles one past Casey. 2nd goal of the game for Trey LeClaire and 2nd goal of the game for Ohio State.
And I was just talking about that 2-man game. They usually like to do it off of the wing, but they did it at the top, dead center. A little bit of a pick. And again, Hofstra, you've got to communicate on those situations, and you've got to know who the shooter is off of the pick. You know, a guy like LeClaire, you've got to show him some respect. So again, you're going to see here a little bit of a 2-man game, 2 guys going to the ball, and you can't leave LeClaire like that. So poor job defensively from Hofstra, but a nice outside rip from LeClaire.
That's one of the things that Seth Tierney was talking about this season as a win for Inacio. Is from a game-to-game basis, they're not always sure what type of team is going to show up, right? Like they lost to Villanova, but he said on the bus ride back, we actually felt pretty good about that performance. Felt like things were starting to click, come back and have a game against a local rival in Stony Brook, and then lose that game by a goal, and then the game last week against Georgetown, which they felt like was their worst performance of the season. This is Wiseman. Behind the cage, freshman Jack Myers. Ball gets through all the way up top. A bouncer, and it looked like Casey was cheating a little bit to his left. And the ball went over his right shoulder. And Ohio State is up 3-0 on the goal from Johnny Weissman.
And this ball takes
Ohio State
a real funny hop.
Scored by number 22, Johnny Weissman.
Totally had the goalie of Hofstra, Casey, fooled. And it's just a tough play. You know, you get that ball down, it kind of skirts through right to Weissman. And again, if you take a look at this shot, it takes a really funny hop and was a very difficult save. So again, right here, it skips through. Nobody's at ready. And it takes a real funny bounce on him. And that's a tough save for anybody, but give credit to Ohio State. They have been pretty good here early on, taking that 3-0 lead.
Face-off win for Hofstra. Numbers quickly. They try to get the shot off. It's blocked by Henrik. And Ohio State's going the other way. Henrik bringing the ball over the midfield line. Knocked away. Picked up by Philbin. He moves it up towards Wenz.
And right there's a defenseman. You've got to have the butt end of your stick covered up when you're in traffic, because that's just an easy check.
Wenz trying to set a screen for Tierney. He does. Lets a shot fly, and it's saved by Kierson, hugging the near side post. Tierney has had multi-point games in each of Hofstra's 5 regular season games so far. The only player on the Pride to do that. Freshman Matt Elder bring the ball up right now.
Well, he's their most dynamic player. He can dodge, he can shoot from the outside. He's a very good feeder. I mean, he's the guy. If you're an opposing defense, you feel like if you can slow him down, you can stop this Hofstra attack.
Tierney lets a shot fly. Kierson had a good beat on it. And Ohio State pushing the other way very quickly. Flag down, delayed penalty coming up on Hofstra. Ohio State already with a 3-0 lead. Offenses look good. Trey LeClaire with a pair so far for the Buckeyes. Lucas Buckley taking his time, dragging things all the way out near the midfield. Buckley right in on the crease. Casey gets a stop on an in-tight save from a shot from Jack Jasinski. And we'll have our first penalty and man-up chance of the game.
Another great look for Ohio State's offense. Hofstra going off sides there, leading to the penalty. But so far, every time Hofstra slid, there's been no two slide. There's been no off-ball help. The guy on the crease has been wide open every time they've had to slide to the guy with the ball. So they've got to do a better job off ball. They've got to be packed in, and they've got to be helping out on that crease man.
So 30-second man-up chance for Ohio State. And the extra pass has really been what's got them involved in another crease look. That one thrown a little bit behind Colby Smith. Let's see if he was there, if he caught it. 10 seconds remain on the man advantage. Ball moving quickly for Ohio State. Good coverage on the crease for Hofstra. Nowhere to go. The ball's dislodged, but a penalty flag comes out after that. And with 2 seconds remaining on this penalty, Hofstra will go right back to the box. That's going to be a holding penalty on the Pride.
And Colby Smith right here, he's got to be in position. He's got to be ready to let that go right away. Good job, though, by Hofstra's defense. We talked about them not collapsing on the inside and letting guys be free in the middle. Did a much better job there with their man-down team. But now they only got four guys out there. Going to be very difficult right now. But here's the penalty release, so they'll get back to 6-on-5 now.
With that penalty expired, 20 seconds remaining on the second one. We're midway through the first quarter with Ohio State leading 3-0 here on the road. Pass knocked away, out of bounds. They'll stay with Ohio State. 12 on the penalty clock. Ball comes up top for Smith. They're looking again towards the crease as much as they can. Myers, GLE left side, shot sailing over the crossbar. And it will stay with Ohio State. Penalties released as we are back to 6-on-6. Hofstra coming into this game, very good opponent man-up percentage, just 21% coming into the game. They now allowed 4 goals on About 16 chances. Myers right into the numbers of Casey. And the first save of the game for the Hofstra Pride as they look to outlet out. And Ohio State felt really comfortable with their ride last week against Marquette. Trying to do the same here. And looking good so far as Hofstra tries to get it over the line. They just beat out the clock. Right on the crease, a shot just wide off the stick of Dominic Pryor. He was kind of camping out on the crease and had a decent look at it.
Good early offense from Hofstra there. I think 6-on-6, you know, with Tierney really being the only true guy that can really dodge and create, I think they've got to find other ways to score goals. And early offense and transition is one of those ways that they can create some opportunities. That was a good look right there. You know, if I'm that Hofstra staff, I'm looking for other ways to, again, create some easy opportunities and some easy looks for us in the transition game.
But that does feel a little double-edged with how much time they've spent on the defensive third of the field as well.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, you want to take good looks. You don't want to force things. But again, if you can create some opportunities and some good ones, you know, you'll take that risk.
Ryan Kennard, a junior out of Media PA, has it right now for Hofstra, 4 goals on the season for the junior. Up top, this is James Philbin. Now Tierney drawing a double team. Tierney over to Philbin. Slide comes quickly on the short stick. His pass is dislodged and picked up by Ohio State. Racing up the field, it's McConney. Short stick D mid. Good transition for Ohio State as they get the ball back into their offensive area. 5+ to play, 3-0 Buckeyes in the first quarter. Back at X with 4.5 to go. This is Jack Myers, who's had a great start to his freshman campaign. 18 points through 4 games and an even 9 goals, 9 assists for the freshman out of Bethesda, Maryland. LeClaire. Shot, Casey got it. Rebound put back in by Ohio State. Looked like Jackson Reed was there for the juicy rebound. And the Buckeyes take a 4-0 lead. Timeout, Hofstra. After Reed scored his 11th goal of the season.
Ohio State goal, his 11th of the season.
That's the type of goal that can crush you as a defense. You get a good stop here. Your goalie makes the save, and then it just rebounds. Right spot, right time. And Ohio State's able to capitalize. And again, take this 4-0 lead here with 4:21 left in the first.
This Ohio State offense has been amongst the tops in the country, scoring a little over 13 goals per game, and their top 5 are incredibly dangerous. Well, CAA doubleheader coming up for you. Stay tuned on Lax Sports Network on Sunday. That's tomorrow. We got Villanova and Drexel in a battle for Philly supremacy, and then St. Joe's versus Penn at 2:30. So you get a whole bunch of Lax action from the city of brotherly love tomorrow, starting at noon. And Villanova off to a good start. Penn knocked off Villanova yesterday. Drexel in a pretty good CAA so far. Of course, the #1 team in the country coming out of the CAA this week in Towson. One of 3 unbeaten teams left in the country, along with Ohio State and Penn.
And I like that Towson team. I had an opportunity to see them and call their game right here in this network against Hopkins, and they just totally dismantled those guys. And then, you know, they take care of business against Loyola. So Coach Nadlin's done a great job with that Tiger program. Another CAA team, you know, as we call Hofstra here today. But so far, got to give the Tigers credit. They've looked great, and they are definitely the best team in the country right now.
Ohio State coming into this game ranked 9th in the country, hoping to perhaps climb up those rankings. And so far, offensively looking like they deserve it today. A 4-0 start on the road in Hempstead. Back to the face-off X. Here's Justin Inacio and Brian Herbert. Those two have been even so far today. And a procedure there against Inacio, so it'll be Hofstra's ball. You know, one number I was looking at stats-wise coming into this game, Steve, is that Hofstra and Ohio State really actually have a pretty similar number of shots total coming into this game. But the shots on goal for Ohio State had a much better shot percentage, and that's kind of playing itself out today as well.
You're 100% right. I think, you know, obviously we've talked a little bit about how Hofstra has struggled here offensively, especially on the 6-on-6.
Here's Giannis on a roll dodge shot. Low save by Kierson. Going down and making the 5-hole stop.
And there's usually a couple of reasons why you struggle either offensively or defensively. And like you said, for Hofstra, when they do get looks, they just have not shot the ball well at all this year, so they've definitely got to clean that up.
Here's Jasinski. High shot saved by Casey. Quick outlet pass ahead as he looks for Santos. Hofstra trying to move the numbers quickly. Tierney gets a screen from Santos up top. And the 6 defenders back for Ohio State will settle back into their defensive roles. 3:13 to go in the first quarter. Ohio State leading 4-0 on the road in Hempstead. Giannis had just perhaps the best look of the game for Hofstra. And a stout save made by Kierson moments ago.
And that's a guy that Hofstra can look to try to take some pressure off of Tierney. He's a guy that's been around for a while. He's pretty quick. He's pretty elusive. That's a guy that can take the ball and stick and make a play.
Kennard diving in across the crease and scores. Got by his defender and gets Hofstra on the board. It's 4-1 with 2:38 to play in the first.
Hofstra goal, his 5th of the season.
And here's maybe another guy that Hofstra can go to. Looks like he's getting the short stick matchup today out of the midfield. Does a nice job. Look at that re-dodge there. Pulled him defender out, re-dodged him right away, able to get underneath, and a really good finish with his left hand. So give Kennard a lot of credit there. Made a nice move, and again, able to finish in tight lefty as he goes diving across the crease and get Hofstra back within 3.
So Hofstra on the board. And exactly what you want out of your face-off guy after you give up a goal. Inacio coming back the other side. Shot pulled wide. And Jack Myers backing up for the Buckeyes. It was Jackson Reed who missed the cage on the last shot. And when we talk about Hofstra's youth, Ohio State's got some young guys who are really performing quite well early on. Talked about Myers. Jackson Reed is only a sophomore. Inacio, their Fogo, is a sophomore. And he's possibly morphing into one of the best guys in the Big Ten, if not the country. Ball's dropped to the turf it goes. And a scrum for it. We'll have a whistle, and Ohio State called for a hold while trying to play that loose ball, so Hofstra will have it.
Ohio State possession, Hofstra.
2 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Ohio State, strong start. Jumped out 3 goals early on, added a 4th to that. Hofstra scored moments ago to make it a 4-1 game. Bride shuttling in some offensive personnel. Philbin coming along with Sterling Ardrey and Matt Elder. They rotate about 4 guys through their first midfield group. This is Ardrey on the run. High shot, bouncing off the turf, and that goes in. So the Pride have scored back-to-back goals here in the last couple of minutes to make it a 4-2 contest.
Just a simple play here. Sweeps across the top. Gets to his right hand. And again, makes a nice bounce shot here on the run. Gets his hands back. Good job by Ardrey. And again, finishes it off with that nice bounce shot. So if you're Ohio State, I'm not sure if they were playing hands there. It almost looked like they were kind of forcing them to the middle. But anytime you force someone to the middle of the field, there's that threat of him having a really good look at the net, seeing the full 6x6 and getting a look like that.
Ardrey, one of the 2 freshmen in that first midfield group for Hofstra, along with Matt Elder. getting his second goal of the season. Inacio and Herbert locked in a battle at midfield over the Hofstra H. Looks like Herbert's got the clamp on it. Inacio trying to fight for him, and the crowd getting into it as well. Just a battle of strength, and Ohio State's got it. Inacio with a strong win. And the Buckeyes will try and settle themselves after that face-off win. Less than a minute to play here in the opening quarter. And Ohio State leading 4-2.
I think if you're Ohio State here, obviously Hofstra ripped off 2 in a row here. Starting to take back some momentum. Want to be smart with the ball. Maybe start to initiate your offense with about 25 or 20 seconds left. I don't think you want to give Hofstra any opportunity here to carry even more momentum into the second quarter. Look for them to play for the last shot.
Weissman looks up towards the clock with 20 seconds, beats his man. Quick shot, and it bounced off the post, it looked like. Big carom out of bounds. Ohio State closes to it with 12.8 on the shot on the game clock. 10 seconds to go. They'll back it up to X. Moving up top, LeClaire lets it go right as time is about to expire. And 1.4 seconds remain on the game clock. So Myers will bring it in, trying to heave something in front of the crease. He does. No shot comes off before the quarter expires. And 4-2 is our score after 1 quarter of play. Well, Trey LeClaire got the scoring started for the Buckeyes, scored the first 2 goals of the game for the 9th-ranked team in the country. LeClaire, both from the crease, and Ohio State 5-0 coming into this game. They've got a 4-2 lead after 1. Stay with us on Lax Sports Network.
Here in the LSN studios, Ohio State 4-2 leading Hofstra. Hofstra making a little bit of a game after 1. The MLL releasing their new logo on Friday, but no one said it was going to be on a car. The draft tonight at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the MLL got their own paint job on a stock car. That's a really, that look, I love that look right there. The colors look really nice on a car. Meanwhile, Inside Lacrosse releasing their mock draft for the first round this week. They think Ohio takes the chance on Pat Spencer at number 1. Then Florida taking the midi out of Michigan, Brent Noseworthy, followed by UMass LSM Isaac Paparo, staying in state with the Cannons, who backed that up with Jack Ty at 4, 2 picks in a row there. Zach Goodrich, the best D midi out there, should be in the first. Excuse me, IL has him in Charlotte. Austin French staying in Denver, where they also have short stick D midi Drew Shantz going. The Bayhawks getting Ryan Conrad, and Dallas taking Craig Chick. The draft coming up tonight, right here on Lax Sports Network, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live from Charlotte. Travis and Quentin Kestnick have your coverage there. The pre-draft show starts at 7 p.m. right here on LSN. We've got discussion, we got analysis, we've got people coming in to talk about what it's like to be drafted, the whole 9 yards, then Lacrosse Now, a full recap from the draft and the day in lacrosse afterwards. But for now, let's get you back out to Hempstead. We'll see you at halftime.
Well, we're watching the college stars of today, and tomorrow, or slightly later this summer, they'll be in the Major League Lacrosse MLL draft tonight at 7. And you can watch all the coverage right here on Lax Sports Network. Back with you from Hempstead, Long Island. Matt Schroeder, Steve Panarelli with you as Ohio State leads Hofstra 4-2. They started out this game with a 4-0 lead. Hofstra grabbed a couple towards the end of that first quarter, and it seemed like offensively they settled down a little bit after that.
Give credit to Hofstra. Good response. You go down 4-0. I think Ohio State had them a little bit on the ropes Had a couple opportunities that they blew offensively where they had some good looks, but give Hofstra credit, fought back, winning that big face-off right here to start the second quarter, and they're right back in this game.
Well, these last two face-offs between Ignacio and Herbert, they've been fun. We'll see if they keep it like that for the rest of this afternoon. But dead even, 4 of 8 for both sides from the face-off X, including that face-off. Hofstra wearing the red, white, and blue uniforms today for Military Appreciation Day. And Ohio State in the Road Reds with the gray helmets and shorts, as well as the numerals. Here's Whit Stopak at X. Second leading scorer for Hofstra in terms of goals this season with 6 on 18 shots. Here's Ryan Kennard, scored one of those goals, lets a shot fly wide, and Hofstra backing up.
And you can see Kennard now getting that long pole up top. Took advantage of the short stick before, so if you can get him in a pick game, get him matched up with a short stick, he's a guy that can create for you offensively.
Philbin carrying the ball at X. Tierney has really been limited. He's got a couple of shots off so far today. A pass goes high. Tierney's able to recover near midfield, though. 14 on the shot clock for Hofstra. Tierney ranging to his left. Pass high. Recovered, though, by the Pride. 6 seconds left. Here's Kennard, a shot hitting the side of the post. And that will be enough to give him another 30 on the shot clock. So Hofstra has time and the ability to reset offensively. You know, Steve, you've done a few games this year. What do you think of the shot clock so far?
I love it. I was always a proponent of it. Always thought that it needed to be implemented. I think it's great for the game. It just makes it so much easier for the officials. Takes out that kind of silly end of the game. How quick do you put it on? And kind of penalize a team maybe that's winning the game. So it's easy. It's standard now. Everybody knows the rules. It speeds up the pace of game, and it's going to create more opportunities, more scoring. So I think that's great for the game.
Tierney trying to thread the needle on a pass, was able to do so, but sort of blindsided his teammate, James Philbin. Went off the shoulder pad and then the helmet and out of bounds. So Ohio State gets it back on the Hofstra turnover. Ride coming for the Pride, but Jasinski able to roll dodge out of it right to the crease for LeClaire. He loses it. Ball knocked up into the air, picked up by Wentz, and then he's able to get it to Bobby Casey for Hofstra to clear. So both teams have done a really good job redefending all the way through from one side of the field to the other. Here's Ellis trying to shoot it. He does so wide. Backing up for Hofstra was Whit Stopak. Sort of a dangerous shot with very few guys back at X from the Hofstra side of things. Mark Ellis in his second year after transferring from Stony Brook as a grad student. Our two Hofstra captains along with Ryan Tierney this year. Matt Elder straight away.
See Hofstra taking the short stick behind. See how Ohio State reacts to if they're quick to go or if they zone up top. Looks like they're going to be quick with their slide.
Elder to the crease, a shot and a score for Riley Forte. His third goal of the season, and Hofstra has scored 3 straight to cut it to a 1-goal deficit.
And I like what Hofstra did here offensively. Went to that short stick behind, that invert set, switching things up here offensively. So far in this second quarter, they've done a couple different things, but right here, they go to the invert. That quick slide is coming, and Forte just cuts down right through the heart of the defense, realizing that they're in a slide and rotation. They're in their slide and rotation, and he's able to get free on the inside and able to finish that right-hander. So nice play from Forte. Good job of reading the defense off ball and getting himself open.
Forte playing in all 6 games this season now. It's got to feel good for him after missing the last 2 years with injury. Here's Herber on the face-off win, trying to streak towards the crease. Denied entry, though. And Hofstra will try and resettle. Knocked out of bounds, and the officials are going to confer. It looks like it'll stay with Hofstra. Herbert thought about trying to keep that in as he was skittering off the field, but then thought better of it.
I thought that was off Hofstra, but
sometimes when the defensive team forces the ball loose, then they end up calling it that way, but kind of with you. Dodge from up top. Wernberger going wide of the cage. Ardrey, who already has a goal today.
Hofstra going right back to that invert set. Playing a big little two-man game behind, using the pick here.
Giannis had his pocket picked. Evan Riss picking up the ground ball. Long pole, midi for Ohio State. We've played almost 5 minutes in the second quarter, and Hofstra has pretty much had all of the possession. So the Buckeyes will go back to work for the first time in what feels like a long time. Lucas Buckley with the ball in the stick gives a look back to the clock behind him in the south end zone here at Seward Stadium. Buckeyes jumped out early, scored 4 straight to begin the game. Scored the first goal just 52 seconds into the contest. But Hofstra has been able to work some offensive flow into this one. Back check picked up by Barnathan on the loose ball. Flag coming down on a tripping call as Barnathan was able to keep the ball in the stick. Here they come with the long pole, and Santos who lost the ball. Ball to the turf. Hofstra maintaining the possession for a moment, and now it's going to go out of bounds, and Hofstra will go on the man advantage for the first time today.
Big opportunity here for Hofstra. They've totally taken momentum back. Get a man-up opportunity with a chance to tie the game here, so big spot right here for both teams.
Ohio State 0 for 2 on the man-up today. We'll take another look at the penalty here. As first ball knocked loose, Barnathan was in the right spot.
And you're going to see the trip right there. I think their feet got hung up. He didn't trip him with his stick, but either way, it's a trip, and Hofstra will go on the man up.
Lucas Buckley in the box for 30 seconds. Tierney to the left side. Now they try to move the ball with some haste here. As Stopak's got it. Back up top, they work it around the horn. Tierney reverses it to the right side. Good stout defense for Ohio State. Force an outside shot by Tierney, and Kierson saw it the whole way.
I think he'd like to work for a little bit of a better shot there. Had some time left on the penalty. That was a shot from distance.
Ohio State with some trouble clearing the ball right now. But they do get it over. Hofstra just 6 of 17 on the man up so far this season after that one.
And I think Ohio State needs a possession here. They've been playing a lot of defense, obviously just coming off of the man down situation. So need a bit of a rest on the other side of the ball. Need to get back into some kind of a rhythm offensively, because since the end of that first quarter, they have not really done much here offensively.
Yeah, for the first almost 5 minutes, Hofstra had the ball, and then Ohio State came down, turnover right away, and then the penalty that led to the man-up chance. There's Ohio State Bugliosi looking right to the crease. Ball knocked away by Wentz, picked up by the Pride. A little trouble holding on to the ball. Redefend for Ohio State. We'll have a whistle. Bugliosi was looking at a wide open one-on-one situation with Casey, but for good reason. Ohio State was guilty of a foul.
Give credit to Hofstra defensively. They've made some adjustments. They're doing a much better job of covering guys up on the inside. Ohio State still dodging, drawing that slide, and then throwing that first pass right in the middle. Really in the game, but Hofstra now off ball has done a much better job. Their guys are slumped down, all helping out, sticks to the inside, and they're taking that play away. So Ohio State's going to have to look to maybe not throw that pass in the middle right away, but move it around the outside and look for another dodger on the backside. But give credit to Hofstra. They've made the adjustments, and they've been much better defensively.
Ardrey forced outside as a double team comes his way. We're midway through the second quarter, 4-3 Ohio State on top. On the road here, Giannis, double team came over to him, ball's dislodged from his stick,
to the top of the box. Tierney had it for a moment. He's in a crowd of red jerseys. Comes away free. He lets a shot go. Saved by Kierson. Out of bounds to the near side. Looked like Kierson kicked it away. And Ohio State looks like they're going to take a timeout after that sequence almost ended in a Hofstra goal.
Yeah, I think they need a timeout. I think they need to regroup, resettle here. Definitely need to get a stop here because, again, Hofstra has taken back this momentum, taken back control of this game, and offensively has looked way, way better in this second quarter. And they're starting to have their way a little bit with Ohio State defensively. So good timeout from Coach Myers. Get his troops in a huddle, get them settled down, get them refocused, and playing Ohio State lacrosse again.
You know, we talked about the youth that Hofstra has on their side, losing 18 seniors from last year's team. For a team like that, 2 young guys in the top 4 of the midfield, 2 freshmen in that, another freshman on the attack. You get a couple goals here, and you can see the confidence start to grow, and that's vitally important for a young team.
And you're right. You know, you get a couple goals and you start to get some success. Now these young guys start to believe. Obviously, they're gifted. They're talented enough to do what they need to do and what's necessary to be successul on the offensive side of the ball. But like you said, sometimes it's just that confidence and that belief in what they're doing. And when you get a couple of goals, you start to build that confidence. All of a sudden, they look like a different team, and that's what's really happened here. Again, towards the end of that first, into the early part of the second quarter here.
And you saw all the guys that they lost from last year, entire first line midfield, starting defense, including their goalie. And a couple of those guys, Concannon, obviously, Osman, went on to play in the MLL last summer. So some high-quality talent that graduated a year ago.
And it was an offensive group that played together for a long time. You know, 2-3 seasons. You talk about that first line midfield. Felt like those guys were here for forever. Calling games at Hofstra. Just so, again, when you have guys that play for that length of a career, you know, being starters for 3 or 4 years, and you lose them, it's definitely tough to replace those types of players.
So following the timeout, Hofstra has the ball back. Ohio State still leading 4-3 as we're inside 7 minutes to go in the first half. Back at X, this is the freshman Whit Stopak. Stopak roll dodge inside, tucks the stick and puts the goal. Beating Josh Kierson. Stopak, nice individual effort from X, and we're tied up at 4.
Nice inside roll from Stopak. Didn't really take his defenseman high. Usually when you hit that inside roll, you usually bring a guy high to that 5-and-5 spot, and you're able to create that space underneath. But right here, the defenseman, he's got to start to get physical right now. He's got to be on his hip, and he's got to be driving. He makes contact too late, and he was upfield. He was too high with his body positioning, and that led to Stopak inside rolling him and being able to finish right-handed. So nice play from Stopak, and Hofstra ties the game up here with 6:46 left in the second.
4th different goal scorer for the Pride, so a 4-0 run to start the game for Ohio State. 4-0 run for Hofstra, bridging the first and second quarters, and another face-off win. Back-to-back face-off wins by the Pride. And timeout wisely taken by Seth Tierney, with Keegan Santos sort of towing the sideline there on the far side of the field.
Yeah, you've got timeouts. Don't bring them into the locker room. So good timeout there from Coach Tierney. Recognized that his guy was in a little bit of trouble. Again, we've talked about it. They've gotten momentum back. Game is tied up now. Last thing you want to do is, win a face-off. You guys are excited. They're starting to play well and then have a turnover. So good timeout, save the possession, and see if you can keep it rolling here offensively.
Now, Ohio State, we talked about it, 5-0 coming into this game. And it's not like they're not used to this situation. They've been a top program for a while, but the travel to Dallas a week ago, going back to Ohio State, take another plane trip to Hempstead, back-to-back weekends. So it does start to add up after a while if you're the Buckeyes. But again, not a new situation, being one of those more westerly programs in the scheme of college NCAA lacrosse.
Yeah, and they didn't have a midweek game. That sometimes is tough too. When you travel on a Saturday, you come back, you have a game Tuesday or Wednesday, and then you got to travel again the following Saturday. So they had plenty of time to regroup, recover, Got some Long Island guys on the roster, so you know those guys are always going to be excited to get home and play in front of the home crowd. So it's usually difficult for a team like Hofstra when another team comes, because they always have a bunch of Long Island guys that are always looking to play really well in their homecoming. So you usually get the other team's best effort when you're playing at home if you're Hofstra. But give Hofstra credit. Rough start. Stuck with it. Like we talked about, a young team easily could have started to pack that in and get down on themselves, but showed a lot of character, a lot of fight, tied up here with possession.
One of those Long Island guys you talk about, Matt Borges for Ohio State, defenseman. Played locally at Garden City, which is always one of the marquee high school programs in this area. So Hofstra's got it. 6 minutes to go in the first half. Ohio State with one timeout remaining. Hofstra's used both of theirs. And the Pride trying to gain the lead for the first time today. This is Stopak, scored the game's last goal. Stopak up top, high pass. And that's going to be a turnover on the Pride as the ball came over the midfield line.
Hofstra not happy with that call. Looked like he got pushed. There's a reason why he stepped over. Pretty obvious there, but ref saw it differently in Ohio State ball.
5.5 to go. Here's Buckley. Buckley drawing the pick, looking right towards the crease. A check misses, and Ohio State back on top. It's 5-4 Buckeyes, put in by Jasinski. What great physical presence by Jasinski to kind of just shoulder off somebody who was driving at him like a truck, and he's able to set his feet and score.
Yep, little pick up top, draws the slide. That second slide was just a little late, like you said. Jasinski does a nice job of taking that contact, realizing that pressure is going to be there, that contact's going to be there, goes right through it, and able to finish. Spoke about it earlier. That second slide for Hofstra wasn't there early. Ohio State had some easy goals. They cleaned that up for most part here, and then right there you see it comes back to haunt them again. That second slide's got to be there a little bit earlier if you're going to slide with that first slide early, and you got to be in position ready to help.
So Ohio State, after surrendering the last four, they are back on top. It's 5-4 and a face-off win for Inacio. Inacio struggling a little bit though with Santos riding his hip. Ohio State elects not to use the timeout that they have remaining. Some trouble getting into the box. Well, they step it in right on the doorstep. Shot, fake, goal. Jack Myers curled around from X and nobody was on him. Ohio State has scored 2 goals in less than a minute, and the Buckeyes are up by 2 once more.
And I don't know how he got so open. Was playing behind at X. Not sure where this Hofstra defenseman was going in this transition set. But Myers gets wide open. Let's take a look. Yeah, Hofstra defenseman was coming all the way across. And that's Michael Altman, who's coming across. Not sure where he was going with that slide, and leaves Myers wide open. And all he's got to do is catch and finish. So just got to be a little bit better off ball there and understand the situation, and that you can't leave that guy wide open coming from behind X.
It almost seemed the way that Santos was right on Inacio, that the defense kind of got really spread out because they were trying to force the turnover there.
You're right. Maybe they were pressing out, thinking that they had a good matchup where they can create a turnover, a pull on a face-off guy, and they were pressed out. But either way, it was starting to settle down there. Still not sure where he was going with that slide, but either way, 6-4 Ohio State and a goal for Myers.
Herber winning the face-off a moment ago, and Hofstra's got it. Shooting on the goal off to our right with 4:15 remaining in the first half. So game run so far, 4 for Ohio State, then 4 for Hofstra, 2 more for Ohio State. And that's where we stand at 6-4 late in the second quarter. This is with Stopak with a goal today. Stopak banging one off the side of the cage. Ball to the turf, scooped up by Ohio State. And then a big hit. Draws the ire of the crowd. And Hofstra will have it. Matt Elder, midfielder, inverting now after that drew perhaps the biggest reaction from the crowd so far today. Dodge from up top, shot up high, wide. Backing up was Giannis. Inside, 4 to play in this first half. Giannis, GLE up top for Tierney. Tierney thought about pulling the trigger. Instead, he'll invert. Straight away, Ardrey with a goal today. Ball gets away. Will it stay in bounds? Yes, it will. And Kennard chasing after it. Ball comes over the midfield line, though. Philbin's got it for the Pride for the moment. And they'll try to reset. Just 15 seconds on the shot clock, so they got to move the ball upfield in a hurry and then try and get a shot off. Philbin up top, 4 seconds left. 2, Tierney, he's just going to heave it down towards the baseline, or the end line. And Hofstra will concede the turnover. A really great defensive presence for Ohio State on that possession.
A smart play from Tierney. Don't want to just waste one and send it to the goalie and create transition going the opposite way, throw it in the corner or to the end line. Set up your ride and get back in the hole and play 6-on-6.
Yeah, we saw that in the MLL shortly after the shot clock was adopted, and that seemed to be, if you're not going to get a good shot off, just take the smart play. Here's Leclerc in tight. The hat trick for Trey Leclerc. And Ohio State has scored 3 straight.
Well, it's been a game of runs. It's 4 in a row for Ohio State, and 4 in a row for Hofstra. And now 2 in a row here for Ohio State, 3 in a row here for Ohio State now. And we take a look here, get that alley dodge, gets that early slide, and again, you see that second slide is on the back of Leclerc. I think Hofstra's got to trust their matchups a little bit more with their one-on-ones defensively here. They're going very early to all Dodgers. And that was a spot right there where I don't think they had to go so early. He was in good position, was playing some good one-on-one defense, but all day and all game long, they've just been going at Dodgers right away, and it's really been the problem for them defensively because they haven't been able to. A few goals they've given up has all been because of those second slides and guys not covering up on the inside.
Ignacio on the face-off win. Ohio State will use their last timeout with 1 minute and 50 to go. Now, Justin Ignacio on the face-off X, as we talked about, 67% coming in to this game. Big Ten Specialist of the Week for the 2nd straight week. He was 18 of 25 last week against Marquette. But the big thing, when the game was still in the balance, 4th quarter, 7 of 8 at the face-off X. And, you know, when you have a guy who in crunch time can put up numbers like that, that's why you're 5-0 to start the year.
Yeah, you want your face-off guy. Obviously, you want him to have a high percentage, but like you said, it's those key face-offs. It's when the game is tight, when the game is getting late, or when the other team's going on a run and you really need a big face-off to kind of kill that momentum and get your team a possession. You know, that's when you want your face-off guys to step up. And you said it, you know, last week he showed that he has the ability to do that and be a closer. And again, win those key face-offs at key moments for his team.
Sophomore year, Nick Myers saying he put on a lot of weight, or a lot of strength, I should say, in the offseason. And, you know, that's important for perhaps one of the more physical positions in the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, and I think also, too, you got to put on the right type of weight, right? Because I think with the shot clock and the way the game is being played, I think there's going to be a lot more face-offs because there's going to be a lot more goals, obviously. So you want your number one guy to be in shape and be able to take as many draws as possible because, again, I think there's going to be a lot more draws taken this year than compared to last year because of the pace of play and the way these offenses are forced to now, play and be a little bit more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball.
Buckeyes have scored 3 straight to open up a 7-4 advantage out of the timeout. 1:30 to go in this first half. Here's a dodge from the corner. Casey got a piece of that. Knocked it away with Jack Myers backing up for Ohio State. There's Myers. Roll dodge, toeing the crease line. Turns, fires, and that one somehow beat Casey. Boy, from this angle, when that bounced off the turf, it looked like it was sailing wide of the cage. Little English on that, it cuts back inside.
A little English and a little bit of a step back. You talk about in basketball, step back 3. You're going to see it right here. He makes that physical contact on the corner.
Up a second.
Getting bodied up. Realized that his defenseman was on his heels. Backed up a little bit, takes a few steps. Realizes he has the space. And Myers just buries it with that low corner bounce shot. So give credit to him to be able to take that step back and then regain his footing and get everything behind that shot. So nice play from Jack Myers.
Myers 2 goals today. And Ohio State scoring 4 straight. Ignacio makes it 5 in a row. Nobody slid up to the Fogo, and he said, I'm going to take this one and let it fly.
We talked about him just before, making those key plays at key moments. You've got all the momentum right before half, just over a minute left. And not only does he get you a win, but he gets you a fast break, and he's able to finish it himself. So nice play from Ignacio. Again, take a look. He beats that defender there. There's really no help coming. Hofstra's a little late, and the team has been very quick to slide in the 6-on-6. It was a little late there in transition. And Ignacio finishes it off and extends this Ohio State lead.
So Ignacio and Herbert go back to the X. We'll have a whistle and a flag. The third of the half against Ignacio.
I didn't realize he had 2 already.
And 2 were earlier on in the game.
Ohio State penalty on number 2, Jack Myers. 30 seconds delay of game.
So delay of game on
Ignacio.
Ignacio.
13:52.
Ignacio goes to the man up for the second time today. 0 for 1 on the man advantage. Finding themselves trailing 9-4. Final minute of the second quarter. Tierney's shot coming out of nowhere to fly in front and block that thing was Evan Riss. Boy, talk about sacrificing your body.
Not gonna lie, I wasn't one of those guys.
You were very sound positionally. Penalty is released. Tierney's got it up top. We'll see. Will Hofstra try and hold for the final shot of the opening half? Stopak on a roll dodge. Offense closes over. Stopak dangling the stick, extending it all the way to the left hand. 10 seconds to go in the game. First half, that is. Suffocating defense for Ohio State. Tierney up top. Tierney lost his footing. Time runs out. Hofstra not able to get a shot off. And Ohio State had their backs against the wall a little bit midway through that second quarter. Well, they got up and finished out the second quarter in a strong way. 5 unanswered goals to take a 9-4 lead at the end of the first half. And not only that, number 13 in today was the red and white. He has been completely shut out. Hofstra's leading scorer, Ryan Tierney, held in check for the first 30 minutes. So Ohio State coming into Hempstead trying to win in Hempstead for the first time in program history. And they're in good shape right now anyway. At halftime, it's the Buckeyes leading Hofstra 9-4 as Ohio State closed out the first half on a 5-0 run. We'll send it now back to the LSN Broadcast Center.
Take the ball and stick and make a play.
Kennard diving in across the crease and scores.
Looks like he's getting the short stick matchup today out of the midfield. Does a nice job. Look at that re-dodge there. Pulled him defender out, re-dodged him right away, able to get underneath, and a really good finish with his left.
Hey everybody, Megan Triplett and Tom Eschen here in the LSN studios at the Ave. Ohio State leading Hofstra 9-4. Kind of a game of runs here,
yes,
right?
It has. The Buckeyes went on a 4-goal run, then Hofstra went on a 4-goal run, and then Ohio State just lit it up.
On a 5-goal run.
I know.
Right.
So let's get you all caught up from the first half.
Yeah, let's at those first half highlights. The Pride at 2-3 heading into this one. Ohio State a perfect 5-0, 9th in the country. So competition, of course, for Hofstra today. We go to the first quarter. Ohio State up 2-0. Johnny Wiseman picking up a loose ball. Probably Wiseman, but he's a wise man for scoring the goal. Ohio State up 3-0 early on in this one. A little bit later in the first, less than 5 to go. There's Jackson Reed. Little repossession on the shot, and he scores. We'll see that one more time. It happened really fast, so I want to see it again. Look at that. Ooh, sort of caught it in the midair and found the rebound. 4-0 Ohio State. Because then Hofstra bouncing back with their own goals. Ryan Kennard, you just saw him there. Starting out wide, makes the cut in, dives and scores. 4-1. Now it's 4-2. Now it's 4-3. Riley Forte cutting and scoring. Hofstra going on, like we said, a 4-goal run of their own because Whit Stoback here comes from behind the net, rolls around the Ohio State defense, and ties the game at 4. Hofstra looked down and out sort of early in this one, but nice bounce back at the end of the first, into the second. Nice goal there to tie it at 4. But then, as we saw towards the waning moments of that second quarter, Ohio State with another response of their own. Lucas Buckley running it down, passing to Jack Jasinski, who gets an uncontested shot at net. Ohio State taking a 5-4 lead, and at the half, it is 9-4. They really stretched out that second quarter lead late in the quarter there with a few late goals. The face-offs, for the most part, pretty even in this one, which is pretty interesting. We'll get to more on that in just a moment. We do have Leclerc with a hat trick early for Ohio State. Myers, the freshman, with 2 goals as well. There are 4 different Hofstra players who have scored a goal in this one. No goals yet for Ryan Tierney. He's taken 5 shots, but hasn't been able to find the back of the cage.
So how about looking at this? We'll go tail to tail with the stats. So as you guys see, pretty even with when it comes to shots. Ohio State has taken 18 shots in the first half. Hofstra 9. And as Tom mentioned with the faceoffs, Ohio State has won 7 with Ignacio, and then of course Hofstra with Herbert has won 8 faceoffs. And then when it comes to saves, Ohio State has 7 as compared to Hofstra's 6.
So definitely an interesting first half there, Megan.
Yeah, pretty back and forth at one point, and then this second quarter, Ohio State just turned on the gas and just stepped right on into it. So how about we bring in LSN analyst Chris Marshall to kind of break down what we've seen so far in this first half?
Yeah, Chris, I guess we want to ask you, what adjustments did you see from each team going back and forth there?
I think if you look at this Hofstra squad, obviously they lost a lot of talent this past year to graduation. Essentially their entire starting defense, their entire starting midfield, and they've had to kind of regroup, and they've got a lot of young guys that they're expecting to be producers for the squad. And I think we saw the youth come out a little bit. If you aren't ready to play straight away, then a team that's in the top 10 is going to come out and score some goals. And that's exactly what we saw Ohio State do. And then they were able to make some adjustments and go into their offense and settle in and find a way to score goals. I think this Ohio State defense under Coach Myers has always been a stellar defense. And it's been tough, I think, for Hofstra to find openings. I mean, Tierney, like you mentioned, 0 goals on the day, but they were able to work through their offense and find some good shots. And that's exactly what they've needed because Kirsten has been fantastic in the cage. And then I think maybe they just got a little tired, and Ohio State was able to start pouring it on. And once you let 2 in pretty quick succession over the course of about a minute, then things got a little dicey because Ohio State was really able to pour it on them.
Let's talk about Trey Leclerc. You know, Leclerc has 3 goals already in the first half. Nick Myers has 2 goals. What does Hofstra need to do to contain them?
I mean, LeClaire is sort of a tough. Well, he's a tough cover, and I think when you look at his game, I think the only thing you're going to be able to do against him is probably shut him off. I mean, he's such a big guy that when he wants to come downhill, he's able to beat just about any defender you put on him. So I think the only way to beat Trey LeClaire really is to keep the ball out of his stick. And it's not just the goals. He's a great passer. He's got good vision. He's got an excellent stick. So if you're looking at him as a guy that can distribute as well, I know he's got 3 goals and no assists so far today, but he's a guy that can distribute as well. So I think the best way to stop Trey LeClaire from hurting you is to keep him from getting the ball.
What have you seen from Jack Myers too? Megan just mentioned him, but he's a kid who he's come in the last few games and kind of exploded on the map for Ohio State, and it's really helped their offense.
He's another great player, and I think when you look at LeClaire again, you get a lot of the attention that goes his way, and it opens things up for guys like Myers, and he's been answering the call. So I think when you look at his game, he's super athletic. Again, he's got a great stick, and he's out there filling in the hole. So when you don't have to work against the number 1 defender or even sometimes the number 2 defender, you're able to find some seams, and he's made the most of his opportunities.
What's going to be the key for the second half? Because Hofstra did get something going. They went on a run themselves. So what's going to be key for the second half for both of these teams?
I think for Hofstra, you just got to settle in. You look at the run that you let Ohio State go on. It's like if you're out there just letting teams go on 4 and 5 goal runs in the same game, it's going to be tough to win. So I think they're going to need to be able to play a little better in the cage. Casey's been okay. He needs to be better. Kirsten's been better on the other side. So I think they just need to settle in. They can't let Ohio State go on another run. If Ohio State goes on another 5-goal run, this game's over. So they need to keep the scoring a little choppy. Keep them to 1 or maybe 2 goals maximum, and then be able to control the pace of the game. They're winning the faceoff, so that's something that I think will certainly help them. But I'm looking forward to the second half. I think Hofstra's going to play well.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. It should be very, very exciting. Hopefully, maybe we'll see a couple of more runs in this game in the second half. Thanks so much, Chris. We'll talk to you at the postgame.
All right, plenty of other action around the country happening right now, actually. So let's see what's going on, shall we? Get some score updates for you guys. What do we got? We got Syracuse and Johns Hopkins just underway. Johns Hopkins leading by 1 to nothing. So they got the first goal in that game.
This is a rivalry game. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more goals so far. This is just the start of it all.
High Point putting up 22 goals on UMBC, a program that's been known for their defense. That's impressive right there.
Yeah, this
22 to 12 in the fourth.
This is their last game, their last non-conference game, and this is definitely a way to go out as you head into the conference next week.
And we also got Maryland, Albany just underway. No score there. I think that might be a lower scoring game too. And then we got to wait for another, I don't know how many hours, 9 hours. And then we got Denver Notre Dame tonight.
We got a while.
We're excited. That's how excited we are for that game. How about things on the women's side, Megan?
Oh, wow. Another close game. Syracuse and Maryland. Syracuse up 6-5 over number 2 Maryland. That's at the half right now. And then another top 10 matchup going on between the Tar Heels and the Virginia Cavaliers. Tar Heels up 7-5 at the half for them too. That game is on ACC Network Extra, and for Maryland and Syracuse, that game's on Big Ten Network.
Wow, 2 really good games.
A lot of games to be watching right now.
2 top 5 games right there.
A lot of rivalry games. This should be just like a big rivalry week.
Rivalry week.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to pronounce those R's in rivalry week.
Hard.
All right.
All right, so coming up tonight, and you should know, is the MLL Draft. That starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's right here on LSN, and we'll finally get to see where all those seniors that we have been talking about all season long could end up in the professional ranks.
Ohio machine on the clock, everybody. Florida is at number 2. Boston had both the 3rd and the 4th pick. See what they do with those. That 4th came from Atlanta in a trade. The defending champs in Denver also have 2 first-round picks.
And the projected number 1 pick that everyone kind of thinks should go number 1. That's Loyola's Pat Spencer. The senior attackman has 17 goals, 20 assists for 37 points in 5 games this season. But whoever takes him might have to wait. There is a chance he takes an extra year and plays basketball at a Division I university because he's that athletic and that good. Now, we spoke to Bayhawks head coach Dave Cottle about what he thought about the prospect. Take a listen.
provides a lot of uncertainty and question for GMs and coaches and decision makers about just exactly what they're getting in a prospect and their commitment to playing in the professional game, especially when you hold a draft at this point in the college season. And then you throw in the fact that we know we have the PLL this year. But when I look at my top 3 prospects, at least for this exercise, I'm not putting that into the category or as a factor at all. This is strictly based off ability and how I see them translating to the professional game wherever they choose to play or if they choose to play lacrosse. And let's start at number 3. Brad Smith's a player that we've seen over the course of the last 3 seasons and now as a senior at Duke that has everything you'd want in a professional midfielder and really offensive player because he has the versatility to play tack as well. And I think that's important when you look at professional MLL caliber offensive players. They have to have that versatility to play behind the cage, invert, play attack, because really it ends up being your top 6 players. I love his size and his speed and his lacrosse IQ, and obviously breaking out for 60-plus points last season paid dividends as a first-team All-American, and he seems to be playing at that pace here as a senior as well. Coming in at number 2 is, beyond Pat Spencer, my favorite player in the college game right now, and that's Zach Goodrich out of Towson. A defensive midfielder, but a player that just impacts the game in so many different ways, and he's honestly probably the best defender in the college game right now, and I think his value at the professional level will be felt in a lot of ways because of how you can utilize him off the wings and face-offs. You can put him on the opposing team's top attackman, maybe their top midfielder. It's like having an extra pole out on the field, and he does have the ability to make plays in transition as an offensive player as well. He is not that one-dimensional, and I think he can offer a lot when you think about players like a Matt Abbott, who developed into an offensive player coming in as a defensive midfielder out of Syracuse all those years ago. At number 1, this is obvious, Pat Spencer. He's the best player of arguably the last 20 years. He's the best player I've seen in person. And look, I understand there is so much question about his commitment to playing professional lacrosse, whether it be next year because he'd like to play basketball, whether he'd play in the PLL, whatever it might be. I think you take him one and then just at least you're part of the decision-making process for Pat Spencer. I was told by GMs that he could have played in the MLL as a sophomore in college, and he's only gotten better. His physical abilities are off the charts as a senior. He seems to have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger, and that's matched with his skill. So just to recap, it'd be Spencer at 1 for me, Zach Goodrich at 2, and then Brad Smith coming in at number 3. Should be an intriguing draft down in North Carolina in a couple days, and excited to see how things shake out.
All right, thanks, Evan. That was not head coach, Bayhawks head coach Dave Caldwell. You're not seeing things. But that was Evan's take on how what he thinks the top 10 will look like for tonight, because that draft is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern right here on LSN. Well, Quint Castanet, Travis Eldridge will be live and give you all the coverage. And, of course, our pre-draft show starts at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and if you want to hear from Dave Cottle, you can go to our website on demand
That's
right
true.
now. You can hear him talk about it right there. So there you go.
And don't forget, tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll have All Lacrosse Now, like always, and we'll air right after the draft, and we'll give you the recap of the day of the college game, and, of course, talk about the MLL draft.
That's all right here at LaxSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app for free. Of course, we'll be here in the studio throughout the game and after the game with a full recap from Hempstead and previewing the rest of the night in the MLL draft as the day goes on as well. So we see you a little bit later for the studio, but for now, let's go back out to Hempstead. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to Hempstead, New York, where Ohio State, the number 9 team of the country, leading Hofstra 9-4. Matt Short to Steve Panarelli. And Steve, Ohio State jumped out early in this game. Hofstra came back in it, but a good strong finish to that first half for the Buckeyes. Trey LeClaire, a hat trick today. He has really led the way offensively for Ohio State.
And you said it's been a game of runs, and it started with LeClaire having the first 2. You see in all these highlights here, it's Hofstra creating this offense for Ohio State, those early slides. I would like to see them defensively maybe show a little bit and not fully commit to a slide, because you could see as soon as the slide starts to come, Ohio State's attacker starts to back off. But here we take a look at Hofstra on that 4-goal run when they got things tied up, and then it was the answer from Ohio State to close out that second half and that first half, and then there was Ignacio right there off of the face-off and put the finishing touches on that late run there in the second quarter. So Ohio State did a good job of responding and getting that lead 9-4.
So we saw Hofstra kind of get off the mat a little bit earlier in this game, trailing 4-0. Young team, how do they sort of regroup after Ohio State was able to finish the first half like they did?
Well, I think if you're, Coach Tierney and some of the leaders on that team, you've got to take some confidence in, hey guys, we were down 4-0. We made a run. We got back into it. It's still so early in this game. You've got 2 full quarters. It's just 1 goal at a time. And like I said, I think defensively, I would love to see these guys show a little bit with their slides. Not fully commit and go, but show. Because every time they've shown, the Ohio State Dodger has backed off and moved the ball, and it hasn't really hurt Hofstra. When they fully committed and they're just sliding early, that's when they've been hurt on the inside.
Hofstra had the face-off advantage in the first half by 1, 8-7. Ohio State takes the first one in the second half here. You see the weather, 44 degrees, sunny. Feels warmer than that, especially with the biting wind that we've had in the Northeast here the last week or so.
I was going to say, that's why it feels so warm. It's been so cold here lately, but these two teams got a great day to play here.
So Ohio State going back to work. Swim move from the top left corner. Look right across the crease. Casey moves to his left, but put in by Jack Myers, his third today. And Ohio State comes out of the gate in the second half, just like they finished the first, with a quick goal.
And you talked about, Hofstra responding after that early 4-goal deficit and what they needed to do here. And this is probably the worst possible start. You lose the opening face-off, and then it's just a simple, easy goal from Ohio State. They dodge down the alley, throw it right across the crease to the backside, and Myers is right there. And again, it's really been that communication, that second and third slide from this Hofstra defense. If you're going to commit and you're going to go early to every Dodger, you've got to make sure the guys off ball are prepared and ready to go.
Jack Myers, 12 goals on the season now in his freshman campaign, had 7 in a game versus Bucknell earlier this year. Hofstra winning the face-off. Here's Tierney, rings one off the crossbar. And it goes out of bounds. Hofstra will keep it. And Nick Myers, the Ohio State head coach, says that Jack Myers, no relation, really a great fit. He said he compliments some of the guys that they have, great vision, good size as well, and he takes a lot of the pressure off LeClaire in the attack and Reed in the midfield. And when you got a freshman who could do that and, cash in on the chances he's given, that's always a good thing for a coaching staff.
Lacrosse is one of those sports where freshmen can come in and have an impact right away. It's tough in a sport like football. Sometimes just physically not there, the size isn't there. But in lacrosse and basketball, these kids are coming in, and freshmen, again, can have a really big impact on some of these top-tier programs.
There's Ryan Tierney, who as a freshman won the CAA Rookie of the Year for Hofstra. He has a dislodge. Ohio State is really making his life difficult today.
Well, he's going to get a lot of attention from opposing defenses. I mean, he's the top guy, and I think right now coaching staffs across the country, when you look at Hofstra, you're not all that concerned with the other guys. So you probably come into the game feeling like if we can stop Tierney, or at least limit him and really put a lot of attention on him, we could take care of the rest of the guys. And the guys from Hofstra offensively here today at least have not really stepped up to take that pressure off of Tierney.
Ohio State with their largest lead of the game. It's 10-4. A couple minutes into the third quarter. Bugliosi, as double team comes over to him. Slide coming over, ball fed back at X. Myers survey. And 3 goals today for the freshman. He and LeClaire have combined for 6 Buckeye tallies. Look right on the crease, and a behind the back goal for Trey LeClaire. Goes far side, low corner. And goal number 4 has probably been the highest difficulty and perhaps the prettiest.
And your job as a defenseman, if your guy gets hung up, like in this position, the attackman has a defender hung up, your only job off ball is to cover cutters. You're not worried about anything else. You're not worried about really sliding at that point. You've just got to cover up the guys on the inside. And a guy like Leclerc, the best offensive player, that's the last guy you could allow to get freed up and get his hands free. And a really nice play, finishing that behind the back, catching that. So give credit to him, but Hofstra defensively, you've got to do a better job. You've got to make sure you're covering up in front when your guys hung up behind the goal.
Well, Seth Tierney felt like he saw enough of Trey Leclerc over the summer, and a member of Team Canada in the World Games in Israel this past summer. Seth Tierney was on the Team USA coaching staff. Getting a good look at him today, 4 goals for the visiting Buckeyes. Another move in sight. Casey got a piece of that one. And a crease violation, they will say.
That's a good save from Casey. He's been under a lot of pressure here in the start this second half, and I think before some of these goals here happened here early in the second half, I thought he really did a good job in the first half. Kind of kept them in the game at certain points, making some big saves, but a lot of the goals that have been scored have been right on top of him, and he's been seeing a lot of rubber here today.
Yeah, definitely not an easy situation for any keeper. Four minutes gone by in the third. And now Ohio State in control of this one. Turnover by Hofstra. Scooped up by the Buckeyes. There's Leclerc again. He's been dangerous. Leading goal scorer for Ohio State has 4 more today, giving him 20 on the season. Honorable mention, All-American last year, 3rd team the year prior to that. The year that Ohio State fell in the national championship game. And of course, out of a really packed Big Ten, trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. Myers trying to create from X. Goal line extended. Another shot, another goal for Ohio State. Nick Musey. First tally of the day today, and Ohio State has cracked this thing open.
Just another lack of communication here from Hofstra. 2 guys off of the pick here behind. 2 guys go to the ball carrier. And it's just a simple pass. Throws it right over to him. No help coming. You just got to communicate through those picks. You're either switching or you're staying. And if you are going to jump it, then you've got to be much more aggressive there. But again, defensively, not communicating through these picks, not communicating off ball. And they're really making it easy for Ohio State. I mean, that's a simple pass and a simple shot for this Ohio State offense. You got to make these guys work for these goals.
Herbert winning the faceoff. And we talked about Ignacio and how he closed out the game last week against Marquette, 7 of 8 in the fourth quarter. Nick Myers, those guys who can really study and make solid adjustments as the game goes on. And while Hofstra becoming a bit unraveled, a couple careless turnovers on their last possessions, and Ohio State goes back to work. Ohio State trying to buck the trend this series all time. Hofstra has a 4-2 advantage, and every win has belonged to the home team so far in this series. Dating back to 1955. They've played more frequently since 2015. This will be their 4th meeting. Behind the back shot again, this one going high. Not a lot on it, stays in bounds.
Really nothing on it.
Yeah. Out of bounds, it'll go to Hofstra. So as I mentioned, since 2015, this is the 4th meeting. 2 in Columbus, 1 here. And Ohio State has won those 2 in Ohio State by combined 3 goals. Hofstra won 8-5 here back in 2016. So if this difference holds, this would also be the most lopsided in the series since the first 2 games. One starting way back under Howdy Myers in 1955, and the other one in 1987, both here in Hempstead. Up top, a low shot. Easy save by Kierson.
And that's a tough shot. Wasn't stepping down, didn't have a lot on it. Was kind of almost fading away, didn't have his feet really set, and throws a bounce shot. And they tracked it the entire way. Kierson was all over that shot.
Midway through the 3rd quarter, Ohio State on top, 12-4 over the Hofstra Pride.
And I think if you're Ohio State now, you want to start to use this shot clock. You've got this 12-4 lead. Still some time left in the game, but I think you want to milk this clock, shorten the game. When the shot clock gets to about 20 seconds, then start to initiate your offense and try to score then. But again, use the clock, take away the amount of possession that Hofstra's going to have left in this game.
And they are doing that a little bit. Down to 18 on the shot clock. Crowding things in front. Here's a look on the cutter to Leclerc. He has it lost on a back check by Wentz, who then picks it up and moves it upfield.
Hofstra doing a much better job there. Again, Ohio State gets their defenseman hung up, camped out at X, and they did a better job in front of the goal and guarding those cutters and being active with their sticks on the inside.
Take a look at Hofstra's upcoming schedule. They get a couple of Big East games, St. John's and Providence, both at home. And then at Rutgers, another Big Ten foe before they get into conference play. And, you dive right in with the #1 team in the country, at least right now, on the road at Towson to begin CAA play.
And they really need to win the next 2 because those last 3, that Rutgers, Towson, UMass, that's a tough stretch. I think I saw Rutgers last week. That's a team that's getting better every week. Got some talent on the offense, and UMass is a team that lost this Ohio State team in a close one at home. And I think they're going to get better as the year goes on because they've got a ton of talent as well. So that's a tough stretch there, and obviously Towson #1. So really would need the next 2, against St. John's and Providence if you're Hofstra.
Here's Ohio State in transition. A shot from Matt Borges goes wide. And the Long Island product would have loved to score. I mean, defensemen love to score any chance they get,
exactly.
But that would have been a little cherry on top.
Garden City native, probably grew up about 5 minutes from this stadium, so that would have been nice. I'm sure he's got a lot of friends and family in the stands, but he'll take a 12-4 lead. I think he'll be happy with that.
Geographically, about 2 miles from Hempstead. Going down as Myers, and a flag will come up. So it looks like Ohio State will go man up. Under 5 to go in the 3rd. Michael Altman, the guilty party.
You see right here, he's going to get his arms extended. He's up high on the back. And that's a tough spot for a defenseman, especially now with the dive where guys can go across. But you got to be on the hip. You want to push on his hip. If you push him high, you're not really going to move him. But if you can push him on his hip, his body's going to have to go where his hip goes. When you push high in the back, to be able to bend and kind of squirt out of that cross check. So he's got to be a better job. He's got to get lower with his positioning of his hands.
30-second man advantage. Neither team has scored on the man up today, and it looks like that will hold true. Casey, little dicey there, clamping down on it. Myers knocking it away. Myers trying to scoop it back up. He's able to create a turnover. Wow. I'll talk about a freshman giving you some extra effort there. Jack Myers almost was able to shovel it in, just robbed the goalie in sheer hard work and effort.
And Hofstra needs as many possessions as possible at this point, and you can't have a turnover there where the goalie has it in his stick. He's got to be able to come away with that ground ball and get you possession. And again, Ohio State, looking to work the clock, use the shot clock, and again, use as much game time as they can.
Buckley will dish it off. Take a look at Ohio State's upcoming schedule. In a moment, a shot just pulled wide by Jasinski. Denver at Notre Dame before they get into, I think the Big Ten might be the toughest lacrosse conference in all the country. Rutgers, Penn State, Hopkins, this Ohio State team. If it's not the toughest, it's one of the top two.
It is definitely, right now with the way Penn State's playing, Hopkins is up early on Syracuse right now. And Rutgers, like I said, I had a chance to see them. Very talented, young team, but going to get better as the year goes on. If you look at that schedule, Denver, Notre Dame, Hopkins, that's a tough stretch for Ohio State. So that's why today's game was even so much more important, I think, for them, because the next 5 games are a total gauntlet for the Buckeyes.
And they work on that out-of-conference year in and year out. Obviously, the in-conference is tough. The ACC would be right in that conversation for most difficult or most competitive league country-wise, top to bottom. Look right across the crease, dumped in. Jack Jasinski right on the doorstep, beating Bobby Casey, and Ohio State opens it up to a 9-goal advantage.
We talked about Hofstra being a young team. It's one thing to lose, but right now I think Hofstra, you could tell the energy is totally out of this squad. And if you're Coach Tierney and the rest of his staff, you'd like to see your team fight a little harder. Obviously you're down, and this is a tough way, and this is a tough game for them. And things obviously haven't gone their way here today, but got to get those heads up. You got to start playing with some energy, with some passion, and have some pride, and try to put out a little bit of a better effort, because some of these goals for Ohio State have been really easy, and it's not so much about what Ohio State's doing offensively. I think it just really goes back to just total effort on the defensive side right now from Hofstra.
Well, one of the strongest areas they've had today has been the play of Brian Herber, the sophomore, out of Smithtown, played locally at Smithtown East High School. And you talk about a program that has some Vogos. They had Herber, they had Gerard Arceri together at one point. They were grooming him for a while there. He and Ignacio have had a good battle at the face-off X today. A shot going high off the stick of Matt Elder. We'll start your lacrosse Saturdays with LSN College Central on Lax Sports Network, beginning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern every week. We get you ready for all the biggest games of the weekend from around the country. Don't let your game day begin without checking out LSN's College Central, only on Lax Sports Network. .90 seconds remaining in the third quarter, a quarter in which Ohio State has grown their lead. This was a 4-4 game at one point, about midway through the second quarter. Ohio State went on a 5-0 run to end that second, and they've continued that pace here in the third. I think you kind of hit it, Steve. Hofstra, young team. Demoralized wouldn't be the right word, but definitely some frustration on their parts with how Ohio State has been able to come out of this thing.
Yeah, Ohio State you know, I think coming into the game, I think you obviously would have thought Ohio State was the favorite, but you gave Hofstra a shot and a chance. Got a lot of talent on that side and a great staff, but like you said, I think Ohio State's really not so much really what they've done. I think, you know, part of this third quarter has just been really a lack of effort. You know, it got off to that rough start. They scored the first goal in the third pretty quickly and easily, and then from there you could just see the overall energy leave the team. And, you know, you guys have got to fight, got to keep playing no matter what the score is, and you'd like to see a little bit more passion, you know, from your guys in white.
Ohio State will turn it over on a shot clock violation with just 14 seconds left in the third quarter. Bounce pass ahead for Ellis. And Ellis a little bit out of his reach. Ohio State gets it back. Time winding down. 2 seconds. Shot at the horn. Goes high of the cage.
At the end of the third quarter,
and that'll be the end of the third quarter. So the Buckeyes 15 minutes away from improving to 6-0 on the season. And yet another road win. They lead Hofstra in Hempstead by 9. Stay with us. We'll be back for the fourth quarter. Plenty more to come on LSN.
Hey everybody, Tom Eschen here in the LSN studios. Ohio State opened up a big lead out there. Big weekend for lacrosse all over the country really this weekend. In Charlotte, the Crown Weekend featuring 3 of the top 4 teams in the country. And Grant Ament for Penn State put on a show last night against Cornell. Ament registering no goals, but 9 assists, several of the BTB variety, and number 4 Penn State's 19-13 win over number 2 Cornell. Ament, as I mentioned, didn't score, but plenty of his teammates did. Mac O'Keefe had 6 goals of his own in the win. No looks, BTBs, what a display. As for Ament, we've spoken an awful lot about Pat Spencer of Loyola this year, but Ament's actually scored more points than Spencer in the same amount of games. Spencer with the advantage in goals, but Ament with 38 assists and averaging almost a full point per game more. Keep in mind now, Lyle Thompson in 2014, when he set the record 128 points, 6.65 points per game. So Ament ahead of the pace. We'll see if he can keep it up. Well, you can see the the MLL draft right here on Lax Sports Network. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live from Charlotte. Travis and Quint Kesnick have your coverage there. The pre-draft show starting at 7 p.m. right here on LSN. Let's take you out to the fourth quarter in Hempstead. We'll be here with the post-game show right after the game.
Wow. 60 million people in the U.S. face the day-to-day reality of living with a mental illness.
Even though most people can experience relief from their symptoms and support for their recovery, less than half of the adults in the U.S. who need mental health services get the help they need.
People experiencing mental health conditions frequently face negative labeling, bullying, and even discrimination.
Some people describe stigma as shame that can be felt as a judgment.
Break the stigma. Don't be afraid to get help. We are the CAA.
Welcome back to Hempstead. Ohio State leading Hofstra by a score of 13-4. Matt Shortis, Steve Panarelli with you, and that's warm weather clothes for the last week or so that we've had here weather-wise. Got a nice sunny day out and a good lacrosse weather day, and Ohio State has certainly enjoyed and appreciated the atmosphere. They add another goal to their already high tally. The offense has been buzzing today for the Buckeyes. And they come out here 21 seconds into the fourth and put one on the board. Jackson Reed is second today.
Ohio State goal, his second of the game, 12th of the season, scored by number 29.
Just nice passing right here from Ohio State offensively.
Jackson Reed, his second of the game.
Just throws it right across the crease. You can see the defenders is a little late, a little slow getting down that backside. As Ohio State moved the ball faster than the Hofstra defenseman can move and rotate, and Reed able to finish that on the backside. So nice play for Ohio State with their man-up unit.
You know, talking to Seth Tierney earlier this week, you know, we were talking about the youth and some of the challenges there, and I asked him, you know, how are you, from a coaching staff standpoint, how are you measuring progress this year, either from a macro sort of week-to-week or a day-to-day thing? And he said, you know, we have to see that we're getting better day in, day out. We can't allow the score to dictate how we feel about the effort that we're putting in. Today, I would say, especially in the second half, those things kind of are going hand in hand, right? Like he said, you can play well and lose, you can play poorly and win. Today, I think it's been a combination of they at least in the second half, I would think they don't feel like they've played that great overall.
No, they haven't played well, and I think, again, it comes back to just the overall energy and effort. I think, between quarters here, I took a look down at the Hofstra sideline, and I could see Coach Tierney giving a pretty passionate speech, and I'm pretty sure he was talking about the energy, the effort, finish this thing off. Let's not pack it in. Let's try to finish strong here, win the fourth quarter, and take something positive, into practice and into the next game. So see what they could do here in the fourth. Obviously, Ohio State starts this one early with a goal right away with that man-up opportunity. But even some of the penalties they've taken here in the second half have been out of frustration, which you don't want to see from your team either. So got to respond here. Got to see you guys, show a little fight and show a little passion here in the fourth quarter.
And with a young team, those types of things are valuable.
Oh, absolutely. Can be. Absolutely. It builds character, builds trust in the guys, knowing that the guy next to him is going to play to the final whistle no matter what. And that helps build confidence as well.
Meanwhile, on the confidence side of things, Ohio State, you got to feel that they're moving into the latter part of their season. Just about halfway through. If they finish this one off strong, 6-0, strong couple road performances after the headstrong game a week ago down at SMU, their confidence will have to be sky high as well.
Yeah, I think they beat a tough UMass team at UMass. It's one of the most difficult places to play in all of college lacrosse at Garber Field, and they were able to win that game. And then they come here to Long Island, which is usually a tough place to play as well. But we looked at that next couple of games for them. So their real tests are coming the next 5 games, and we'll really find out what this team is all about over the next couple of weeks.
Shot and a save made by Casey. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth. Hofstra will try and move upfield now. As we talked about, getting some of those positive things under the belt. If you're Hofstra, here's Barnathan. And Tierney whistles one wide. That might have been one of his freer shots that he's had today. Ohio State has done a great job on number 13 defensively.
Yeah, like we said, we knew he'd be the focal point of any opposing team, and when they're starting to scheme and strategize defensively, he's the guy it starts with, and you've got to stop him first, and then you can start to take care of the other guys. And they've done a nice job of showing to him, sliding to him when they've had to, and really have been all over him all day.
Bounce shot. Don't know if that was on cage exactly, but Kirsten got a piece of it. Steve, we talked about all the player personnel that Hofstra lost from a year ago. As a pick off by Santos. How about Kevin Unterstein as well? Kevin Unterstein, as Santos moving in, shooting it high. And nobody backing up for Hofstra, so it'll be Ohio State ball. Member of Team USA this past year. Longtime defensive presence on the coaching staff for the Pride. Getting a job as an assistant with North Carolina this year.
Yeah, obviously Kevin, good lacrosse mind. He's an alum, so I think that usually, guys on a team will respect that a little bit more. A guy that played here and did it for this program. So it definitely hurt losing him, but they replaced him with a guy in John Gorman, who's a very good coach, young, up-and-coming assistant, coaches with a lot of passion, a lot of energy, as a high-intensity type guy, similar to Kevin. But I think really, like you said, the key has really just been all this senior leadership that they've lost, the goalie, Concannon, and really a lot of midfielders that played a lot of lacrosse for them.
Stopak coming in and putting one by Kirsten. Second goal today, and draws some flags after the fact.
And you've seen a nice response here from Hofstra. Santos, he picked off that pass, ran through 2 defenders from Ohio State, took a shot. The backup wasn't there, but you like the energy, you like the effort. And then, then they answer here with a goal from Stopak. Does a nice job, beats the short stick, takes the contact, is able to finish it off. So this is the type of response you want to see from this young Hofstra team, playing with that energy and guys fighting to the last whistle.
Brandon Barker, the guilty party on the penalty. It'll be a minute man-up chance for Hofstra after the goal. And I think from an offensive standpoint, we've seen today, they've attacked and dodged very well from X with the ball. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that from their side.
The success they've had really has been when they've gone to those short stick matchups, taking those short stick defenders behind, playing out of that invert. It's led to some good opportunities and 2 or 3 goals for them. So that's something that you can look forward to. And Hofstra, I think, came out early, but Ohio State controlled the ball anyway.
Christian Feliziani took that last face-off for Ohio State. Nick Myers, I'm sure, figuring get somebody some extra reps.
And you don't want to wear him down. Like we talked about, there's going to be a lot more face-offs this year than in years past because of the shot clock. And so if you could pull your face-off guy and have him, not take maybe the last 5 or 6 draws here today, that's an advantage for you later in the year.
Well, Ryan Tierney on the Tualatin watch
Ohio
list.
State penalty on number 48,
CAA
Jed Manning,
guys
30 seconds
on
for
that watch list. Isaac Paparo, Zach Goodrich, Ryan Tierney, the lone Hofstra representative there on the 2019 Tualatin watch list.
Yeah, some good names out of there from the CAA. Isaac Paparo, very talented player, and Towson's got 2 good ones there as well. So a lot of talent in this CAA conference.
Ohio State took a timeout just a moment ago. They're 2 men down after another penalty. So they've got 32 seconds of being man down, 30 seconds of being 2 men down for the next moment or so. Wednesday nights on Lax Sports Network, it's the CAA Press Pass. We'll bring you all the latest news and notes from around the conference. Prepare for the biggest games of the week. CAA Press Pass on Lax Sports Network every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The fans have seen some great Ohio State offense today. Number 9 team in the country, and likely will be moving up in the polls when they come out on Monday. One of 3 unbeaten teams in the country, along with Towson coming into the week, as well as Cornell.
If you came to see Ohio State today, you've gotten plenty of the Buckeyes here as a fan. They've done a great job here today. We focused on Hofstra a little bit here today, but give a lot of credit to the Ohio State team. Came in here, took care of business, jumped on them early. Hofstra had a nice response, got back into the game, and then since then, it's been all Ohio State just dominating. And really in all aspects of the game, done a great job at the face-off X. Goalie play has been good. The offense and defense have played well, taking care of the ball. Coach Myers said that was one of the things they wanted to clean up here today. I don't think they've been sloppy with the ball at all. And again, they've done a great job all around, and we knew they were a very balanced team, and they really showed it here today.
Hofstra 2 men up out of this timeout. A 6-on-4. Tierney steps into one. A shot whistling wide, and it looked from up here as though Kirsten had the beat on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Hofstra got that one, but they'll take it.
15 remain on the man advantage. Shot hit an Ohio State helmet. Caromed up into the air, and Hofstra recovers the loose ball. Shot from up top, whizzing past the cage. Riley Forte has a goal today. 1 penalty over, 2 seconds remain on the other one. And a fruitless man-up chance for Hofstra. There's Tierney trying to go into the long pole. Lets one fly from the outside alley. And Kirsten is there for the stop.
Hofstra 2-man up, opportunity there. Unable to come away with really anything. Give credit to Ohio State's man-down defense, but offensively, you got to get something there.
Santos able to create a turnover. Riley Forte's got it back in his stick. Now, Ohio State has definitely
let up a little bit. You can tell they're trying to use a bit more of that shot clock when they've had possession over the last few minutes. There's freshman Matt Elder. Elder trying to turn, create some space. Now he does. And Kirsten didn't see that well. Kind of lets his head drop after it went in frustration. So Matt Elder has his second goal of the season. And Hofstra trails 14-6.
And that's one that Kirsten is going to wish he had back. Just got to hug the pipe there. Take away that near pipe right here. You're going to see Kirsten gets top side there, and again, it's a good shot from Elder, able to beat his man top side, get his hands free. Someone probably should have showed from Ohio State, showed a little help there, especially as he got past that 5-5 spot, but give credit to Elder. Nice play and a nice shot coming from X.
Ohio State face-off win, scooping up the ground ball under 8 to go in this game. A 14-6 Ohio State lead. As the Buckeyes try to move to 6-0 on the season.
One guy we haven't talked about is Jeff Henrick of Ohio State. He's had the assignment today of Tyranny. And you know, we talked about his ability as an offensive player. Obviously, Hofstra's best guy, and he's done a great job with his one-on-one matchup here today. Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, played in 15 games last year at the LSM. Sliding down to close defense this year. Captain, and he's been trying to work on his voice this year, being more vocal, which is so important from a defensive standpoint. Roll dodge feed across the crease. Nick Musey was looking to hammer it home, unable to do so. Fresh shot clock though. As you talk about, situations like this is also where that shot clock can kind of come in handy, because it takes away the guesswork from the officials. It doesn't have the home crowd who's trailing, asking for a stall warning the second that it looks like the team that's leading loses a little aggressiveness in their offense.
This would have been a spot last year where the refs put it on right away, and quicker than they probably would have for the rest of the game. So that's kind of where it gets a little, got a little funky. All game you call it one way, and then as the game starts to tighten up, you call it a different way. So put the time on, makes much more sense, and makes it much easier for the officials.
Here's Dominic Pryor, low shot, nice save by Kirsten, ranging across his body for the bottom right save. Ohio State pushing up the other way. Buckeyes will slow it down for a moment. An area in the game where we might have seen them really push after that earlier in the contest. Shot getting away and out of bounds, or a pass out of bounds, pardon me. Over the stick of Bugliosi. Keegan Santos bringing the ball upfield.
He's a guy that I've been impressed with on Hofstra's team. High energy guy, very athletic, can make plays in between the lines. It's been a guy that, like I said, I've been impressed with watching here today. Someone that they can look forward to for the future, someone that they can count on and have a guy that can make some plays for them.
CAL rookie team a year ago. Played in 11 games. He started all 6 games so far this year at the long pole. Up top it comes for Hofstra's Bryce Tolmie, and Tolmie unable to handle it. Ohio State again with some speed. This is Omari DeBerry. We talk about the Ohio State team that made it to the championship game in 2017. A little bit of a down year last year, but look at some of the guys that returned. I mean, Borges is a big impact player for them right now. Jack Jasinski as well. Feliciani, who we've seen taking some face-offs. I mean, it's tough to replicate that championship experience for guys that have been through that. I mean, Trey LeClaire, Nick Musey, Tarafenko. Those are some of your big-time guys right now.
Yeah, it's good that, they got that experience. Hofstra makes a nice play right there at the midfield short stick defender.
Here's Ellis in transition. And a new netminder in for Ohio State as Skylar Walland, a freshman goalie, on his first shot of the day gets a tough one.
Gets a tough one. Wasn't really ready for that. That was a quick change from offense to defense. And I don't think anybody from Ohio State was ready there.
So Mark Ellis with a great defensive effort. Just hard physical play. Scooped up the ball, took it right to the rack. Not even. That was almost up from the top of the box.
That was a good play from Ellis. He went out all the way to the midfield line to guard his guy. Got him with that nice cross check. Got him to the ground, caused the loose ball, and finished it off with the goal. So good play from Ellis.
Delayed penalty coming up on Ohio State as Herbert with the face-off win. Closing in on the 3-minute mark of this game, Ohio State doubling up Hofstra at 14-7. They're going to get a trip as Herbert had gone down after the face-off win. Drive from X, turnaround shot, hit off the post.
Number 18, Jimmy Yanni.
And now the whistle will blow after Ohio State takes it. Another flag coming down, so it looks like Hofstra may go two-man up for the second time today.
Unable to convert on the first time. They were two men up. See what they do here.
So we'll see what the penalties are right now. Christian Feliciani went down there for the trip. And we'll also have a push. It looks like against... Trying to see who steps in the box. Colin Souter on the push. So Hofstra goes two men up for the second time today. This for a full 30 seconds. Here's Tierney with an opening. Low to high top shelf, and Ryan Tierney took him almost the entire game, but finally on the board today.
And he's a guy, he can shoot it from the outside. He needs to get his feet set, and once he gets his feet set, he has enough on it to be an outside shooter. And right here you see the lefty, he catches it and puts everything he's got behind this one. And really nice release, low to high, and buries it in the near side corner. So nice play from Tierney.
That'll extend his point streak this season to 6. You know, you talked earlier about young team in Hofstra. How are they going to close out despite the score? What do you feel like you've seen from them in the last 10 minutes or so?
Hofstra face-off win for Brian Herbert.
You know, it's obviously gotten better here. You know, it was a rough start here to the second half. Ohio State, you know, blitzed them and got on them early. But I think, you know, give them credit. I think after that third quarter, I think, like I said, I watched Coach Tierney give them a pretty passionate talk and speech, and they've obviously responded here in the fourth quarter, and things have looked a little bit better for them.
Shot whistling wide.
Shot by number 4, Charlie Rago.
Charlie Ragolt in the game for the first time today. Another shot, save made by Walland of Ohio State. Inside, 2 minutes to go in this one. Shot going high over the head of Casey. Here's Matt Klibanoff. He and Mike, two freshmen on the roster, though one is an attackman and one is a goaltender, the two Klibanoff brothers. Here's Omari DeBerry. Final minute to play in this one. Ohio State will move to 6-0 on the season, remain one of the 3 unbeatens in the country, along with Towson and Cornell.
Good company to be in. Cornell, another team loaded with talent. Jeff Teat, great player, top 5 guy in the country right now. So it's good company to be in if you're Ohio State. We talked about their upcoming schedule, though. Going to be a gauntlet coming up. See what they can do over the next 5 games. That'll be their real test and really find out what this team's got.
Shot clock violation. And we talked about the top conferences. Might have given short shift to the Ivy League with Cornell and Yale in the top. A little top heavy, but Penn right there as well.
Yeah, talk Yale and Cornell. You could put them in the class of anybody in the country. Maybe the rest of the conference needs to pick it up a little bit, but those 2 guys are 2 premier programs and are right in the national championship conversation.
Waning seconds here in Hempstead. Final horn will sound, and Ohio State comes in, knocks off the Pride in Hempstead for the first time in program history. And 2019 keeps on rolling along for the Buckeyes. 6-0 on the year. A 14-8 victory today here on the road. Just right from the get-go, Steve, things were solid for Ohio State. They scored a minute in. Minus a little run for Hofstra. They never really looked back after that.
Yeah, minus that 4-goal run by Hofstra in the second quarter. Otherwise, it was all Buckeyes. Dominant on both ends of the field. Did a great job of the face-off X. And again, they really dominated a young Hofstra team here at Hofstra.
So again, Ohio State moving to 6-0 on the season. Back-to-back semi-road games. Down in Texas last week and another one here. The big guys got it done for Ohio State. Jack Myers, Trey LeClaire, Jackson Reed all had multi-goal games today. And it was a dominant offensive performance for Ohio State. Once again, our final score, Ohio State knocking off Hofstra by a score of 14-8 for Steve Panarelli and our entire crew. I'm Matt Shortis. Coming up tonight at 7 p.m. on LSN, it's the 2019 Major League Lacrosse Draft. Thanks for watching the CAA Game of the Week on LAC Sports Network. Look right on the crease and a behind the back goal for Trey LeClaire.
And your job as a defenseman, if your guy gets hung up like in this position, the attackman has a defender hung up, your only job off ball is to cover cutters. You're not worried about anything.
Hey everybody, welcome to the LSN Studios. Ohio State beating Hofstra today 14-8. That's Megan. I am Tom. And this one in the second half, definitely Ohio State pulling away.
Right. You know, the first half, there was a game of runs. For the second half, Ohio State, the 9th-ranked team in the country, now they're undefeated. They're 6-0 on the season. It was a good one. An
impressive one for sure. Let's show you what happened in today's game before we get you some analysis in just a moment here. The Pride at 2-3 heading into this one. Ohio State a perfect 5-0 at 9th in the nation. As we mentioned, we go to the first quarter of this one. Ohio State already up 2-0, and that lead would keep on going. There's Johnny Wiseman making Ohio State very comfortable early. 3-0. With about 9 minutes to go in the first, so that's a lot of quick goals there. A little bit later in the first, Jackson Reed sort of intercepts that shot in front. It sort of bounced off the goal. We got to watch that one again. He does score, so Ohio State's up 4-0. I got to watch this one again, too, see exactly what happened here. It's like Jackson Reed got the rebound, bounced right to his stick, and he scores. So Ohio State up 4-0, but Hofstra comes right on back. Ryan Kennard diving, scoring. Ohio State's lead cut to 3. So Hofstra's on the board with about 2 minutes to go in the first. In the second, it's a 4-2 game there. In the middle, Riley Forte cutting and scoring the lead down to just 1. The run continues for Hofstra. Whit Stopak comes from behind the net. Nice dodge move there to get in close. He scores. It's all tied up 4-4. Well, Hofstra, after Ohio State scored the first 4 goals of the game, Hofstra scores the next 4 goals of the game. How about that? Great move by Stopak in front. We go to the second quarter. It's still tied a little bit later on. About 5 minutes to go in the half. Jack Jasinski right there makes a defender lose his feet and scores. Uncontested shot at the net. 5-4, Ohio State retakes the lead. Let's go to the second half now, shall we? It was pretty close as we started the second half, and then things sort of got out of hand fairly quickly there as Ohio State scored 10 straight goals in this one. Jack Myers finds Trey Leclerc, a little behind-the-back 5-hole goal. We got to have a replay. This is one you saw at the top of the show. Behind the back, goes 5-hole. Didn't even bounce it. Just went straight 5-hole. Unbelievable. Ohio State going up big. Hofstra didn't score for about 26 minutes in this game. At one point, they didn't score at all in the third quarter. Ohio State didn't. So 14-8, the final in this one. Leclerc with 4 goals. Jack Myers, a freshman, had 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. Reed with 2 goals. Jasinski had 2 as well.
All right, and take a look at the tail of the tape. So as you see, Hofstra, they outshot Ohio State, but the biggest thing was in the goal position for Kirsten for Ohio State. He had 13 saves as compared to Hofstra's 9 saves. And then, of course, Ignacio had 12 face-off wins for Ohio State, and Herbert with 14 face-off wins. But Ohio State wins it 14-8.
Yeah, towards the second half, we did see Ohio State get a lot of good opportunities, and we definitely saw them pull away and show us why they're the 9th-ranked team in the country.
Yeah. So to break all this down, because this game was quite interesting, we had to bring in Ellison analyst Chris Marshall. And Chris, he's standing by via Skype. Chris, Ohio State was kind of unstoppable. From a statistics standpoint, what was it about Ohio State that made them just kind of just turn on the gas?
Well, I mean, they were scoring more goals than Hofstra, I think, was the main story of the game. This was an odd game in terms of the score line. I think you look at the start. I don't know that I've ever seen one that was exactly like this, where you had 4 goals from Ohio State, 4 goals from Hofstra, then 10 goals unanswered from Ohio State, and then another 4 goals from Hofstra. The scoring distribution was very odd. And obviously, you talk about lacrosse as a game of runs, and it certainly is. But to have exclusively runs is unusual. And I think when you look at that 10-goal run, I think to begin the half, Hofstra really needed to make a stand and put their feet in the ground and get that first goal, or at least prevent Ohio State from going on a big run. And they were unable to break the seal in that third quarter. And I think you got to look at Kirsten as a big factor in that, and also Henrik on the defensive side, drawing that matchup with Tierney, did a fantastic job as well. So I think it was just better adjustments, better scheming coming from Ohio State in this one, and I think they're relying a lot on those veteran players to really lift them up. But they came out firing on all cylinders in the second half, and that's what really blew the doors off this game.
You talk about those runs. Why do those happen? You know, why does a team be able to get that much momentum and then sort of just things drop out? It's just an adjustment a team makes for a short amount of time. Obviously, Ohio State made the better adjustment for longer. But why do you think things ebbed and flowed so much in a game like this?
Well, I mean, I think it's a couple of things. I think obviously when your goalie is making big saves, that's something that's going to help the confidence of the team. But also, there's a lot of young guys on this Hofstra team that they're expecting to make big impact plays. And when you lose that many guys like they did last season, there's going to be some growing pains. And I think we're seeing a little bit of the growing pains with this Hofstra squad. They're obviously well coached and they've got some talented players. But when you look at this Ohio State team with a number of players left over from that run to the national championship game, this is a team that has a lot of experience. They know what it takes to win. They know what they need to do over the course of that 60 minutes to get the victory for their team. So I think this Hofstra team will continue to improve as the season goes along. But when they lost the momentum, since they don't have a couple of guys who can really be dodging threats. I mean, Tierney's one of those guys. Yanis is one of those guys. But they weren't able to get those guys going early, and they just didn't have an answer. So, I mean, it's great defensive scheme, and I think experience is really what's shown through for Ohio State.
And let's talk about the Buckeyes. As you guys know, this week they're ranked number 9. Now they're 6-0 on the season, and a lot of people thought that Ohio State should have been a little bit higher in the rankings. Did you learn anything new about the Buckeyes, and do you think that that ranking should go up?
I mean, I think when you look at the teams that are ahead of them in the ranking, there's a few factors that come into it. I mean, I voted in the poll, and I think as much as you don't want to think that this plays a role in it, you look at some of those blue chip teams that have been doing it for a long time and more, extended excellence in terms of their victories. I think a little bit of a down season last year for Ohio State is costing them this season in the rankings. But I think another dominating performance here and a couple of losses for teams in front of them. I mean, this is an Ohio State team that I think could be as high as number 2 in some of the polls, some of the voters polls. So this is a team that I'm certain will move up in the rankings. And like you said, I agree that they probably should have been higher than they are in the poll right now. But this is an excellent team. But I think on the other side too, I don't think Coach Myers minds kind of flying under the radar as much as you can fly under the radar in a top 10 team, but not having the extra pressure of being super high in the rankings.
Yeah, they're going to have their shot here in the next few weeks. Their schedule gets significantly tougher now in the next couple of games over the next month. Yeah, so they have the opportunity, like you mentioned. Chris, thanks so much for stopping by. We appreciate the analysis and the discussion.
Anytime.
Well, we got plenty of other action around the country going on right now. Let's see on the men's side first, then we'll get to the women's games because there's some insane finishes happening right now on the women's side. So let's get their men's scores up there real quick here. We've got Maryland big over Albany. As far as we know, so far, Dehoga Nanticoke has not played for Albany today. We've reached out to their SID and their staff, and he's on the sidelines. He's dressed. He's got his helmet on. Just no real explanation why he's not in there.
The saga continues. This is something.
Yeah, so then we have Johns Hopkins and Syracuse, the rivalry game, living up to the hype. Another barn burner in the Carrier Dome. You learned that last week, Megan.
I know.
Cardiac cues.
Cardiac cues. Hey, from what I learned last week, you never know. You can't count out Syracuse, but you also can't count them in right now. It's too soon.
You never know.
It's soon. You never know. It's half right now, and Johns Hopkins is up 8-7 on them. This is a huge rivalry game, and I know they want to win this one because Virginia last week, that was a big rivalry game. There's a lot of stats and numbers on the line with this one, so that should be interesting. Then look at High Point making a statement today. They defeat UMBC to wrap up their non-conference schedule, won 22-13. And, of course, later on tonight, we'll have Denver Notre Dame. That's 10 p.m. Eastern.
A little nightcap for you guys.
Yes, it's a fun night to have, lacrosse all day long, literally.
Noon to midnight.
Yes.
That's probably what we're going to be here until. So here are the two games we had our eye on for you because Syracuse and Maryland, 11-11, are in overtime right now.
Ooh.
What a game in College Park. And then North Carolina beating Virginia by 1. And that, when you think of top 5 matchups, that's really what it's all about.
Right. That was definitely a good game. North Carolina has, made a statement. So has Virginia for the women's side of the game. So this one was a big one, a big win for them to have under their belts and a 1-goal game. And if you're a Syracuse fan right now, you have to have 2 screens going right now. You got to have the TV, you got to have the laptop, the iPad,
network,
something.
Whatever.
It's a lot going on, and so that's a big game. We'll have all the highlights and get you all up to date tonight on Lacrosse Now at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight.
That's really the best place to get everything because you don't have to worry about, you got everything on one screen all coming at you back to back.
Well, yeah, we'll always update you. We don't leave you hanging. We really don't.
No.
All right, so let's talk about tonight. Like we said, tonight is crazy because the ML Draft is tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and it's right here on LSN. And we'll finally get to see where all these seniors that we have been talking about all season long could end up in the professional ranks.
Ohio machine on the clock right now. The clock is getting.
What do you think they're thinking about? Oh my gosh.
It's a lot of pressure, especially this season.
Oh, yes.
Then you got Florida at number 2, who's going to wait to see what Ohio does. And then Boston at 3 and 4. That's a huge position for the Cannons, who do have a good amount of their talent back from last year. That 4th from Atlanta, that 4th pick there. The defending champs in Denver, that's what they do in Denver. They reload, retool for the next season. They've got 2 first-round picks to help fill out their roster.
And the projected number 1 pick is none other than Loyola's Pat Spencer. The senior attackman has 17 goals, 20 assists for 37 points in just 5 games this season. But whoever takes him might have to wait because there's a chance he could take an extra year and play basketball at a Division I university. Now, for more on the draft, here's Evan Washburn, and he'll give us his take on who he thinks the top prospects are.
Well, the ML draft always provides a lot of uncertainty and question for GMs and coaches and decision makers about just exactly what they're getting in a prospect and their commitment to playing in the professional game, especially when you hold a draft at this point in the college season. And then you throw in the fact that we know we have the PLL this year. But when I look at my top 3 prospects, at least for this exercise, I'm not putting that into the category or as a factor at all. This is strictly based off ability and how I see them translating to the professional game wherever they choose to play or if they choose to play lacrosse. And let's start at number 3. Brad Smith's a player that we've seen over the course of the last 3 seasons and now as a senior at Duke that has everything you'd want in a professional midfielder and really offensive player because he has the versatility to play attack as well. And I think that's important when you look at professional MLL caliber offensive players. They have to have that versatility to play behind the cage, invert, play attack, because really it ends up being your top 6 players. I love his size and his speed and his lacrosse IQ, and obviously breaking out for 60-plus points last season paid dividends as a first-team All-American, and he seems to be playing at that pace here as a senior as well. Coming in at number 2 is, beyond Pat Spencer, my favorite player in the college game right now, and that's Zach Goodrich out of Towson. A defensive midfielder, but a player that just impacts the game in so many different ways. And he's honestly probably the best defender in the college game right now, and I think his value at the professional level will be felt in a lot of ways because of how you can utilize him off the wings and face-offs. You can put him on the opposing team's top attackman, maybe their top midfielder. It's like having an extra pole out on the field, and he does have the ability to make plays in transition as an offensive player as well. He is not that one-dimensional, and I think he can offer a lot when you think about players like a Matt Abbott, who developed into an offensive player coming in as a defensive midfielder out of Syracuse all those years ago. At number 1, this is obvious, Pat Spencer. He's the best player of arguably the last 20 years. He's the best player I've seen in person. And look, I understand there is so much question about his commitment to playing professional lacrosse, whether it be next year because he'd like to play basketball, whether he'd play in the PLL, whatever it might be. I think you take him one and then just at least you're part of the decision-making process for Pat Spencer. I was told by GMs that he could have played in the MLL as a sophomore in college, and he's only gotten better. His physical abilities are off the charts as a senior. He seems to have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger, and that's matched with his skill. So just to recap, it'd be Spencer at 1 for me, Zach Goodrich at 2, and then Brad Smith coming in at number 3. Should be an intriguing draft down in North Carolina in a couple days, and excited to see how things shake out.
All right, you can see the draft right here on Lax Sports Network. That's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live from Charlotte. Travis and Quint Kessenich have your coverage there. Our pre-draft show starts tonight at 7 p.m., so make sure you are tuned in.
And then stay tuned as Lacrosse Now will air right after. So maybe 9, maybe a little before 9, a little after 9. We'll have full recaps from the draft and highlights, analysis, and more from the day in lacrosse. All on LaxSportsNetwork.com and the LSN app for free. So thanks for joining us here tonight on the good game between Hofstra and Ohio State. We appreciate it. And as we mentioned, we're going to be here all day long.
All day long. So make sure you are just tuned in all day long to LSN. We have a lot of games, and we also have a lot of footage, draft, all the highlights, everything you need to know. All right? So see you tonight.
See you guys.
Speed. Power. This trophy is not given, it must be earned. The NCAA Men's Lacrosse Championships. May 25th through 27th at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia.
In the stick, boom, on the money, cradle and a pass. Win the first championship!
Visit ncaa.com/lacrosse to get your tickets today.
Tyler Pace with the Calgary Roughnecks. This is Box Lacrosse 101, and today we'll be working on 1 pick, 2 shots.